Hey, what's up my titans of time? It's your boy Chronos, back with another mind-blowing video. Today, we're diving into an epic what-if scenario. What if Deku had beast mode? This is just part 1, so strap in for an amazing ride. A huge shout out to the incredible author, Hyginus, for making this story possible. Let's get into it. Everything is fine. Why? Because I am here. The deep, booming voice of All Might bellowed throughout the computer room as the shelves shook from the reverberation from the speakers. This must have been the 1000th time that Izuku has watched this video. At least that's what his mother said. But one could hardly blame a young boy for wanting to see such an amazing video over and over again. All Might was the coolest hero ever, and this particular video, depicting him saving hundreds of civilians at once with that signature shining smile on his face, was by far Izuku's favorite. All Might is so cool. I want to be just like him. I'm gonna be a great hero someday. Right, Kakin? Fuck yeah. But you are gonna have to fight me for the top spot, Deku. Don't think you can surpass me. Bakugo Katsuki had to be the only person that Izuku knew that was as big of a fan of All Might as he was. The two boys met on the first day of kindergarten, and their mutual desire to be amazing heroes along with their idolization for the number one hero helped them become fast friends. Izuku referred to Bakugo as Kakin, simply because Katsuki was a little too hard for him to say. Bakugo had a similar instance where he saw Izuku's name in writing and misread the kanji. There was a debate between the two over Katsuki referring to Izuku as Deku due to the reading that Katsuki interpreted meaning, one that is useless or cannot do anything, but ultimately Izuku was convinced that it was just a nickname like Kakin was. Just you wait, Deku. Once we get our quirks, there will be nothing to stop me from being the greatest hero ever. Better than All Might, even. And don't worry, you can be my sidekick. Bakugo was a confident kid who never shied away from speaking his mind in his signature loudmouth style. What? Come on, Kakin. I don't want to be a sidekick. I want to be a hero too. Some would say that Izuku and Katsuki's opposing personalities were part of the reason they were good friends. One was brash and expressive, the other timid and reserved. They sort of balanced each other out in a way and affected how the other acted at times. Katsuki crossed his arms and looked away with a pout, but after a few seconds, he turned back to his friend with a smirk. I'll think about it. The two boys shared a smile and turned back to the computer screen that they were previously looking at. Wanna watch it again, Kakin? Fuck yeah. Rewind that shit, Deku. Just as the two boys were about to restart the video, the door to the room burst open to reveal Katsuki's mother Mitsuki glaring at her son. Katsuki, what the fuck did I tell you about swearing, you little shit? She grabbed her son by the ear and began dragging him across the floor and out into the hallway, with Katsuki kicking and screaming the whole way. Arg. Let go of me, you old bat. Deku, save yourself. Izuku stood petrified with fear as Mitsuki yanked her son out of the room and around the corner out of sight. Moments later, Izuku's mother Inko peeked her head into the room and gave her son a nervous smile. And maybe it's time to take a break from the computer for today. Come to the kitchen for a snack? Izuku was sitting under a tree in the playground, writing away in his notebook about heroes that his mother had gotten him. Ever since she and Kakin had helped him learn how to read and write, he found the perfect outlet for his countless thoughts and ideas about all his favorite heroes. The rest of the kids in class preferred to run around and play all break and usually left Izuku alone, which was fine by him. Izuku liked to play as much as any kid, but sometimes it was nice for him to just unwind and fill some pages out of hero analysis for the future. By his sides, several squirrels had scampered down from the treetops and stood near him, eyeing his activity curiously. Izuku always wondered what it was about him that animals were so drawn to. Everywhere he went, if he stayed outside anywhere for long enough, wildlife would eventually come towards him. He didn't mind much, though. Animals were so interesting to him, and were probably his favorite thing after heroes. The case with animal-themed heroes was a whole other conversation in of itself. Deku. Izuku was shaken out of his train of thought when he heard his best friend call out to him. He looked up to see Katsuki sprinting towards him and skidded to a halt in front of where he was sitting. Oh hey, Kakin. What's up that has you so excited? Katsuki stood there for a moment, hands on his knees and hunched over to catch his breath. Huff, huff, Deku. I just came back from the doctor's. Check this shit out. Izuku raised an eyebrow for a moment before the gears clicked in his brain, and he immediately leaped to his feet in anticipation. Katsuki held his hands out, palms facing towards the sky, and made a face of pure concentration. Slowly his palms began to emit smoke before they suddenly ignited into small orange sparks. I got my quirk. Isn't it badass? Izuku's eyes were gleaming with excitement as he watched his best friend showcase his newly developed quirk. That's so cool. Kakin, you have a super awesome quirk. How does it work? Katsuki smirked victoriously, The doctor said my sweat is explosive, like some chemical called nitroglycerin. I can make explosions in my palms and blast bitches to bits. Izuku had his notebook out to a fresh page and began furiously writing. Well, that actually makes a whole lot of sense considering your parents' quirks. With Annie Mitsuki's glycerin quirk and Uncle Masaru's oxidizing sweat quirk, it makes perfect sense that when combined, you could make sweat that could explode. It really is cool how your quirk is like a perfect combination of your parents' quirk, like some kind of perfect recipe. Just think about all the different things you could do with your quirk. Katsuki stood with a throbbing vein, impatiently seeing Izuku fall into another one of his incoherent muttering spells. He and Izuku were both fairly smart for their age, but the green-haired nerd had way too much shit packed into that egghead of his. A light bulb went off in Katsuki's head, and a sadistic smile stretched across his face. He put his palms on either side of Izuku's ears and activated his quirk. Pop pop. H. Izuku leapt about 20 feet in the air and landed unceremoniously on the ground, leaving Katsuki rolling on the floor with laughter and the rest of the kids in the playground looking their way, wondering what was going on. As both boys got up from the ground, Katsuki wiping a few tears from his eyes and Izuku rubbing his behind with a pout, a crowd of other kids formed around them. Hey, Katsuki, you got your quirk? One girl asked. He nodded and showed the rest of the class in the same way he had demonstrated to Izuku earlier. Many ohs and ahs were had at the revelation of such a powerful quirk. Wow, so that makes Katsuki the fourth kid in class with a quirk now? As more and more kids praised Katsuki's quirk and swarmed him with questions, he felt something very warm welling up within himself. He slowly formed a wide grin and faraway look in his eyes as the compliments and questions poured in. I'm amazing. This was it. The moment that Katsuki knew would come eventually. This was the moment that he knew it would be clear that he was cut from a different cloth from everyone else. With this quirk, nothing could stop him from reaching the top and being the strongest hero of all time. Out of the corner of his eye, Katsuki noticed Izuku behind the crowd, returning to his seat under the tree and began to write in his notebook with a barely noticeable frown on his face. Katsuki stared at Izuku for a few moments, now completely ignoring all of the kids around him. That nerd. Izuku and Katsuki were walking through the forest, knee-deep in another one of their wonderful adventures into the great unknown. It had been 2 weeks since Katsuki had manifested his quirk, and the ash-blonde hothead was finally getting the hang of controlling his explosions. In fact, it had been almost 3 days since he accidentally blew something up and got scolded by his mom. With his hands crossed behind his head, Katsuki stopped walking, causing Izuku to bump into his back. Oof, Kaken, why'd you stop like that? Izuku held his butterfly net in his hands, tilting his head to the side in confusion as to why his friend decided to just stop in the middle of nowhere. Deku. Katsuki stared down Izuku with his arms crossed, a frown on his face. What the hell is wrong with you, huh? Izuku gulped. I don't know what you're talking about, Kaken. What do you mean? Katsuki smacked his hands together, creating an explosion powerful enough to startle Izuku onto his butt. Don't give me that bullshit, you fucking nerd. Why the fuck have you been acting so off lately? And don't give me some garbage excuse, or I'm gonna blast your face to the moon, got it? Izuku wrung his hands around the handle of his net nervously. Well, it's just that, you already got your quirk and it's so strong and everything. What if I get mine and it's not good enough for me to be a hero like All Might and I can't keep up with you? I mean, my mom's quirk is only attracting small objects, and she never told me anything about dad's. Shut the fuck up, Deku. Katsuki got right in Izuku's face, a furious scowl on his own. What kind of pussy-ass talking is that, huh? Who cares about your mom's quirk or about your deadbeat fucking dad? You don't even have your quirk yet, and you are already acting like a pathetic little chode. Katsuki grabbed Izuku by the collar and bore a hole through his face with his intense stare. You think All Might never had to do stuff that was hard? You think he was crying like you, or did he say fuck it and keep going? Of course you'll never be as good as me. I'm awesome. But if you keep acting like a little bitch before you even know what your quirk is, you'll never be shit. I'm not gonna waste my time carrying around a useless little bitch, Deku. Katsuki let Izuku go and turned away from him with his arms crossed. The two stood silent for a few moments, the only sounds being the wind whistling through the trees and the faint babbling of a brook somewhere past the treeline. Izuku sat on the ground, staring at the ground with his hair shadowing his bright emerald eyes. Would a hero feel like this? My story hasn't even started yet. I need to get to the start line before anything else. That's what a hero would do. That's what All Might would do, right? Kaken is not going to stop for me. No one is. I need to think like a hero and stay strong. Katsuki tapped his foot impatiently. If the damn nerd was not going to shape up soon, he was going to blast the shit out of him and ditch his ass. Just as Katsuki's patience was about to run out, he felt a hand grip tightly on his shoulder. He turned to see Izuku with a look he had never seen before in his life. There was a gleam in his green eyes that was undeniably defiant and full of fire. Kaken. Izuku kept his expression steady. Thank you. Katsuki scoffed and smacked Izuku's hand off of his shoulder. Shut up. I don't need your shitty thanks. You still ain't shown that you are anything but a pebble. Despite the harsh words, Izuku knew Katsuki well enough to read between the lines and nodded with a smile. Just you wait. Izuku felt as satisfied could be. His mom had just taken him out for a super special dinner for his 6th birthday where he had the chance to eat his weight in katsudon before sharing a delicious ice cream sundae with his lovely mother. He had received wonderful gifts from both his mother and the Bakugo family, but what Izuku really wanted more than anything was for his quirk to finally manifest. Most of his class had gotten their quirks already, and Izuku was starting to get worried about why his was taking so long. To be fair, quirks manifested anywhere between birth and about 6 or 7 years old, so he was still within that window, but that didn't make it any easier for him to wait. A visit to the doctor had revealed that he may be a late bloomer, as his physical growth was slightly behind some kids his age as well, meaning that it was entirely possible for his quirk to be just as behind. So all Izuku could really do was wait and see. Kaken had yelled at him for not doing more to prepare for heroics besides researching, so he tried to be more active and trained with his blonde companion. He also asked his mom to let him learn some sort of martial arts, but he wouldn't start until later in the year. As he and his mother were turning the corner onto the street of their apartment building, Izuku noticed movement out of the corner of his eye. Curiously, the young boy peered into an alleyway to see something rustling between a few bags of trash. Izuku, come on honey, don't go playing in the trash. It's dirty. Inko tried her best to scold her son, but the young mind was too curious to be stopped at times. She followed Izuku towards the source of the rustling to see her son kneeling before a small Rottweiler puppy. Hey there, little one. Where'd you come from? Izuku stuck his hand out, and the puppy tentatively moved towards him. Izuku closed the rest of the distance, petting the dog on its head. The puppy slowly warmed up to the affection and began panting happily. Inko moved towards the two, but that startled the dog and it hid behind Izuku's leg. Inko observed the physical state of the animal and could tell that it had been out on its own for quite some time. And from the look that Izuku was giving it, she had a feeling where this day would be going. Even so, she had to at least pretend to put up some sort of fight so Izuku wouldn't become too spoiled. Mom, she's all alone. Can we keep her? Izuku was a master of the puppy dog look, and it did not help at all that Inko was a sucker for all things Izuku. She did her best to put up a strong front and crossed her arms. Now, Izuku, having a pet is a big responsibility. I can do it, I promise. I'm gonna be the best hero ever, right? I can save her and take care of her. Please, Mom. Izuku was bowing before his mother, and the dark-coated puppy was curiously mirroring his actions, causing Inko to be almost overloaded at the cute display. How can I say no to this? Like I could have said no anyway.
Inku sighed.
Okay, Izuku, we can keep her. Hooray. Izuku cheered as he scooped up the puppy into his arms. But you are giving her a bath as soon as we get home. Izuku sat on the floor of his room, playing with the newest addition to his little family. Luckily, one of their downstairs neighbors was giving away some old dog stuff, so they didn't have to buy as much as they would have otherwise. As he tossed a rubber ball across the room for the umpteenth time, his mind ran rampant with what having a dog would change for him. I can take you for walks before school, and then after dinner. Oh, you can go on adventures with me and Kaken. He seems kinda mean at first, but he is my best friend in the whole wide world. Oh, wait, what should I name you? Izuku reached down and scratched his puppy behind the ears, eliciting contented growling as she leaned into her new owner's ministrations. What would you like to be named, huh? What would you like to be named? Izuku affectionately scratched the pup's exposed belly, smiling at her happy reactions. Suddenly, the dog rolled over onto its feet and began looking around Izuku's room. Understable, being in a new environment and all. The puppy slowly patted her way around, sniffing every now and then, and stopped under Izuku's bed, where she sniffed several more times before ducking under the overhanging blanket and pulling out one of Izuku's All Might action figures that must have fell off of the shelf and gotten pushed under there. Hey, be careful with the teeth. Izuku carefully took the figure from the dog and inspected it for any scratches or noticeable imperfections. He was relieved to see his figure still in mint condition, the smiling face of All Might smiling back at him. Izuku was particularly proud of this figure. It was ultra rare, and there were only 100 in existence. He wiped it off and carefully placed it back onto the shelf above his bed. Eyeing the special Hero of Hope costume the figure donned, Izuku's eyes lingered on the large hope written across the plastic All Might's chest. He turned to his puppy, who was sitting and looking up at him with a head tilted in curiosity. Hope, huh? Deku was really pushing his damn luck. He always took his sweet-ass time, and Katsuki almost always found himself waiting for the nerd to show up. The blonde sat impatiently on top of a large rock just outside of the forest that he and Izuku frequently explored. That stupid fucking fuck. He better have a good fucking reason for this shit. Just as Katsuki was about to dive further into an anger-fueled rant about punctuality and making people wait, he saw Izuku running towards him with some kind of dog or some shit running behind him. Hey Kaken. Sorry for taking so long. Shut up, Deku. About time you fucking showed up. And what's with the dog? Katsuki bent down to inspect the puppy, who carefully edged towards the stranger in front of her. Oh, I found her last week all on her own. She had no one else, so I couldn't just leave her there. Izuku bent down and gestured towards Katsuki. Go ahead, girl. Don't be shy. This is Kaken. The dog turned from her owner towards Katsuki and began sniffing him out. After a few moments, she yipped happily and leapt into the boy's arms, licking his face repeatedly. Arg, get off ya damn mutt.
Stop elle. Stop licking me.
Katsuki could barely contain his laughter as the animal assaulted his face with affection. After a few hilarious moments of witnessing the adorable scene, Izuku stepped in and pulled his dog off his best friend's face. What the fuck, Deku? Control your damn dog. Despite trying his best to be angry, Katsuki couldn't wipe the gleeful grin plastered on his face. He wiped his wet face with the bottom of his t-shirt and tried his best to regain his composure. So, what's her name? Izuku smiled and ruffled his pet's head. Nozomi. I feel like taking her in off of the streets gave her hope for a proper life, so she should represent the kind of hero that I want to be. One that stands as a pillar of hope that everyone can look up to and rely on. PFFDD, that's pretty lame, Deku. Katsuki turned his nose up at Izuku with his arms crossed. Hesitantly, he turned his head towards Nozomi and stuck his hand out. Nozomi waddled up to him and licked his hand affectionately, causing Katsuki to smirk in approval. Heh, at least she knows I'm awesome. Alright, we've wasted enough damn time.
Smon de cul.
Katsuki broke into a run and disappeared into the woods. See, Nozomi? Kaken is a good guy once you get to know him. Nozomi barked in approval before the two ran off after their friend. Izuku, Katsuki, and Nozomi had made their way to a clearing overlooking a small pond where they sat to relax for a few minutes. The pair of boys took turns tossing a stick into the distance for Nozomi to fetch. Hey, losers! They turned to see a group of kids from their class standing a few feet away from them, a mix of cocky smirks and angry frowns among the crowd. The apparent leader of the group was Honshu, one of the kids in their class with a powerful quirk, and was the self-proclaimed king of their grade until Katsuki manifested his and quickly showed him up. Never one to be talked down to, Katsuki immediately leapt to his feet with a scowl on his face and stepped towards his opposition, as Izuku and Nozomi trailed slightly behind him. The fuck did you say, you little bitch? You think I can't take you, Skellington? A vein formed on Honeshi's forehead at the nickname regarding his quirk, and he had to be held back by a few of his cronies before he sprouted any bones from his arms. Come on, Kaken, it's not worth it. Just leave them, let's just get out of here. Izuku put a shoulder on his friend to try and reason with him, but it was quickly jerked off. Shut up, Deku. How the hell you gonna be a hero if you keep letting fuckers like them talk shit about you? You should listen to your boyfriend, Katsuki. There's no way you can take on all of us by yourself. What is Izuku gonna do? Huh? He doesn't even have a quirk yet. Every one of Honeshi's lackeys began laughing along with him, deeply angering Katsuki and even slightly miffing Izuku. Honeshi's laughter was interrupted when a combusting palm impacted squarely in his face with a ferocious boom. Arg! Honshu fell backwards like a ton of bricks holding his smoldering face, his group of hooligans too stunned to move. Don't fucking talk about shit you ain't know nothing about. Deku is 10 times what you plebs could ever be. Katsuki growled. He instinctively turned his head and glared at Izuku, so that he wouldn't mention what was just said or try and say some corny shit. Let's get the hell out of here. You're gonna pay for this, Katsuki. The group of boys picked up their sobbing leader and ran away into the woods, leaving Katsuki with a victorious smirk on his face and Izuku walking up to his side shaking his head. Sheesh, you got him pretty hard, Kaken. Was that really necessary? Who cares what they say? I know I'm not as weak as everyone thinks. Shut up, Deku. Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm hungry. Katsuki shoved his hands into his pockets and trudged off. Izuku nodded and turned to call his dog. Nozomi. He looked around, a bit confused. Nozomi, where did you go? Izuku was starting to panic a bit. Kaken, she's gone. You must have scared her off with your explosion. Come on, hurry. We have to find her. He wasted no time before breaking off into a sprint into the trees. Damn it, Deku. This isn't my damn fault. Katsuki gritted his teeth before sprinting off after Izuku. Nozomi, you little fucker. You better not be lost. Izuku looked around frantically as he called out Nozomi's name over and over again. He could feel his composure begin to plummet as he saw no signs of his beloved dog anywhere. Stopping to take a breath, Izuku bent over with his arm holding himself up against a tree. Huff, 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 okay, calm down. I won't find her if I am just running around like crazy. I need to think about this. Heroes find missing people all the time. I just have to be like a hero. Okay. Izuku caught his breath and did his best to calm himself. If I were Nozomi, what would I do? I need to put myself in the mindset of a dog. Think like a dog. Think like a dog. Izuku slowly opened his eyes and felt different. Had he always been this low the ground? What was wrong with his eyes? Everything looked weird and gray. He tried to look down at his hands, but he couldn't see them. He could feel his arms and legs, but no fingers or toes. What was going on? Why was he on all fours? Izuku stepped out of the pile of fabric he was somehow buried in. Wait, that was his clothes. Why was he naked? Why did his clothes get so big? Or did he shrink? The poor boy was thoroughly confused, but his inner freakout stopped when he caught the scent of something very familiar. Nozomi? Sniff, sniff that way. Without another thought, he ran off in the direction of his Rottweiler puppy. Katsuki was getting more and more irritated by the second. First, that damn skeleton bastard comes and starts talking shit. Then Deka's dumb cute dumb dog runs away and they have to find it. Now, Katsuki can't even find Deku. Gah. Katsuki pulled at his spiky blonde hair in frustration. He then noticed something odd several feet ahead of him. What the hell? Katsuki trailed off as he came upon a pile of clothes. The same clothes that Izuku was wearing. He then saw paw prints in the dirt and sighed in relief. Finally, Katsuki broke off into a run, following the trail of prints towards what had to be Nozomi and a naked Deku for some reason. Katsuki chose not to question it. He was too hungry to care. Reaching the end of the trail of footprints, Katsuki looked around for any sign of the nerd or his dog when he heard barking nearby. Heading in that direction, Katsuki stopped dead in his tracks when he saw Nozomi playing with another Rottweiler, except green instead of black and brown. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the scene again, confused that he still saw the same thing. What the hell? Both puppies turned their heads towards him and made a mad dash in his direction. Nozomi leapt into Katsuki's torso and nestled herself comfortably inside his shirt with her head poking out of his collar, while the green dog jumped around yipping frantically. Katsuki unconsciously rubbed Nozomi's head, while he eyed the weird green dog suspiciously. He looked down at Nozomi's happy expression with a raised eyebrow. Where did the nerd go? Nozomi barked and pointed her small paw towards the green dog before them. Heh? What do you mean that's Deku? That's a damn dog, you damn dog. The green dog barked several more times at Katsuki before his very eyes. It started to transform. Katsuki stood slack-jawed as the form of Rottweiler began to disappear as the parts of a human began to take shape. The form slowly stood up to reveal a slightly confused-looking and very naked Izuku. Hee. I can explain? So your quirk is that you can turn into a dog? Well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound cool, Kaken. That's because it isn't cool. Katsuki exclaimed. What the hell kind of hero could you be if you can only turn into a dog? Actually, Kaken, there are plenty of canine-related quirks among heroes. I think even. God damn it, Deku. You know what I'm trying to say. Couldn't you have a quirk to at least turn into a cool animal, like a lion or something? Izuku, still sitting naked on the ground, sighed wistfully. Heh, yeah, that would be pretty cool, huh? Imagine me turning into a lion. Katsuki turned to face Izuku. Well anyway, let's get the hell out of here. I'm fucking starving. He was now facing a green-furred mountain lion staring at him inquisitively. It happened again? This came out as a series of low growls, mind you. Katsuki's arms fell lifeless at his side. Did you just? Izuku transformed back to his human form and sat on the ground with a sheepish grin on his face. Hee. Guess my quirk is pretty cool after all, huh? After a long-awaited meal, Katsuki and Izuku spent the rest of their afternoon experimenting with the latter's quirk to try and see just what it was capable of. As it turned out, Izuku's quirk allowed him to transform into any known animal that he could think of. Reptiles, birds, Izuku could do it all. For some reason, Katsuki particularly enjoyed it when Izuku tried to turn into different insects, but he spent the majority of his time trying out more battle-ready animals. He felt particularly cool transforming into a giant eastern lowland gorilla, towering over his 6-year-old friend. Izuku spent hours testing out his quirk, long after Bakugo got tired of it and went home, and was barely able to trudge home with Nozomi energetically bouncing by his side. "I'm home," Izuku drawled out as he dragged his feet through the doorway. "Oh, Izuku, you're back later than usual. Did you have fun on your adventures today with Katsuki-kun and Nozomi?" Inko said, wiping her hands on her apron. Izuku was suddenly full of energy again, shooting to his feet with a wide smile on his face. Mom, guess what? I got my quirk today." Inko's jaw hit the ground before she scooped her son up into the air and twirled him around in circles. "Oh, honey, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm sure you must be so excited to learn all about it and be the best you can be." The Midoriya matriarch wiped a few stray tears from her eyes as she led her son into the living room. "Honey, show me your quirk. I want to know exactly what to expect from my little hero in the making." Izuku nodded vigorously before running to the center of the living room. He scrunched his eyes in a state of focus before transforming into a green Rottweiler puppy and leaping onto his mother's lap, panting happily up at her. "Ah, so cute." Inko grabbed puppy Zuku and began rubbing their cheeks together affectionately. Izuku squirmed in her grasp and back onto the ground before transforming back to normal. "Cool, huh? I can transform into any animal I can think of." "It is amazing, sweetie. But why are you naked?" Inko asked with a sweat drop. "Oh, well, my clothes don't change when I transform, Mom. Actually, I had to take my clothes off so they wouldn't rip when I turned into bigger animals. When I get my hero costumes, I'm gonna have to get some kind of material that can stretch and shrink so I'm not naked all the time. I can't be a hero if my pee-pee is out all the time." "Izuku, I bet there are heroes that have transformations that can mess up their costumes unless they are made from special materials." "Izuku, I wonder if I can get that kind of stuff too? Then I'd always have to have it on, or else I could not use my quirk as much as I want. I wonder if I will want to eat what my animal eats after I transform. Oh, what else might happen after I become a certain animal?" "Izuku." Inko finally shook her son from his ramblings and held his shoulders square so that they were facing each other. "Izuku, I just want to let you know, you're going to be a wonderful hero someday." She pulled her son into a loving embrace, which he immediately returned with as much strength as his little arms could muster. Both Midoriyas had steady tears forming down their faces as they enjoyed the tender moment. "Thanks, Mom. I'll make you proud and be the best hero ever." Izuku and Katsuki rounded the corner on their way towards the park a few blocks away from their school. They found that this park was perfect for training, as it had a large jungle gym that they could maneuver through, and a swing set because, well, swings are the best. "Hey!" The two turned around to see the group of boys from a while back, as angry and douchey looking as usual. Honsher was once again leading the pack, but he was now sporting a large burn spreading across his face, courtesy of Bakugo's attack. This time, he was much more prepared, already having activated his quirk to produce dull bone rods from his arms. "You asswipes aren't going to get away so easily this time," Honsher shouted, as his cronies activated their various quirks and surrounded the two friends. "You're going to pay for this," he spat out, pointing to the mark on his face. Katsuki growled with anger and his palms started sparking. "You talk a lot, but all I see is a bunch of bitches who are about to get their asses kicked. Come on, guys. Why do we have to fight? We aren't supposed to be using our quirks in public either. We could get in trouble. Kaken, don't let them make you ma." Izuku was interrupted by a sucker punch to the back of the head, knocking him down to the ground as he clutched his head in pain. That strike served as enough distraction for the group of almost a dozen to get the jump on Katsuki, overwhelming his quirk and strength via sheer force of numbers. Katsuki managed to get a few solid explosions in on the mob, but there were simply too many of them for him to handle at once. He quickly found himself on the ground, trying his best to shield his face and sternum from the barrage of fists and feet raining down on him from above. However, he knew he could only keep his shell of defense up for so long, feeling the brunt of more and more hits as time went on. Just outside of the circle of boys beating down on Katsuki's fetal form, Izuku lay on his stomach, trying his best to make sense of what had just happened to him. His head was spinning, and could barely hear muffled grunting and yelling over the ringing in his ears. Beginning to shake the cobwebs off, his vision cleared and he made out the group kicking the crap out of Katsuki. Seeing his best friend in such a state made Izuku's blood boil, and as he shakily rose to his feet, the green-headed boy could feel his anger coursing through his body. Stop it," he mumbled, clutching the back of his head. "Stop." Izuku found his bearings and felt a rage well within him that he had never felt before. "Get off him." The guttural cry of pure rage shook the playground to its very core, causing every one of the group to turn around and widen their eyes in fear. Katsuki let out a shaky breath and was barely able to keep his non-swollen eye open as he took on the form of Izuku. Despite the pain he was feeling all over his body, Katsuki let out a pained chuckle. Heh, damn nerd. You bitches are fucked? Honsher and his gang were frozen in fear, staring face to face with a literal beast, Izuku in the form of an enormous green Siberian tiger staring them down. Izuku bared his sharp fangs and slowly edged towards them, a low growl rumbling out of his throat. WWWW, what the hell is that? He's a monster. Honsher barely had time to shriek in fear before Izuku pounced forward and knocked all of his cronies out with a single swipe of his massive front paw. He landed and snarled at the terrified boy, who was now on his behind, shuffling back as fast as he could. Gigi, get back. Stay away. Honsher swiped his arms wildly in front of him, trying his best to fend off the ferocious Izuku stalking towards him angrily. Izuku came to a stop mere inches away from the boy, growling quietly but staring him dead in the face. Izuku then let out a vicious roar, causing Honsher to scream in utter terror and scramble to his feet in attempt of escape. However, Izuku managed to grab onto his pant leg, yanking the boy's trousers down before tearing them to shreds. Honsher was left to run home crying, pantsless and in dire need of a new pair of underwear. Immediately after being left alone, Izuku, still in his tiger form, made his way over to Katsuki and began licking his face, trying to rouse him and clean off the blood caking him. Deku. Katsuki slowly came to, spitting out a few gobfuls of blood as he reached his hand towards Izuku's nose and let off a small explosion. Izuku jolted backwards, whining and rubbing the spot of impact. He transformed back to normal and sniffled as he held his nose. Kaken, that hurt? He cried. That's what you get, nerd. Don't ever lick me again. Katsuki rose to a sitting position and wiped a forearm across his mouth. It really take me getting my ass kicked for you to finally grow a pair. You stupid fuck? Izuku sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Sorry, Kaken. I don't think they're gonna bother us anymore, at least. I would fucking hope not. You made that bitch piss his pants. Oh, and you know how your ass couldn't figure out what the hell your hero name was gonna be? I'm pretty sure I got the perfect one. Izuku leaned forward expectantly. But put some clothes on first, you freak. Izuku fell flat on his face. Kaken. Despite the world being overrun by heroes and villains with as many quirks as the human mind could imagine, there always had to be some sort of mundane or ordinary things to balance out all that wonderment. School was one of those mundane things. Izuku was well aware of the importance of a strong academic background and actually enjoyed learning new things. But his junior high left a tiny little bit to be desired in terms of overall quality in both staff and curriculum. This was part of the reason why he tended to zone out of whatever rudimentary lesson that the less than enthusiastic teachers would be droning on about at any given point in time. No, instead, he made much more productive use of his time, in his mind anyway. Over the years, Izuku's passion for hero analytics had blossomed from a hobby to a full-blown obsession. He was currently on volume number 13 of his hero analysis for the future with no signs of slowing down. Even if his teachers cared a lot more about doing their jobs, Izuku had a feeling they would not bug him too much about his lack of attentiveness in class simply because his grades were so high. The only person keeping Izuku from taking the spot at the top of his class was his biggest rival and best friend, Bakugo. If there was one thing that was a widespread fact among the students and staff at Aldra Junior High, it was that if any kids from the school had a shot at becoming a pro hero one day, it was Bakugo and Midoriya. Nicknamed the Ferocious Duo by their peers, the two boys were at the absolute top of the food chain. They ate, trained, studied, and did just about everything else together. Boys wanted to be them, girls wanted to be with them. No matter the context, everyone wanted a piece of them on their inevitable rise to the top.
Gioco minuscut.
Do you want to go to the arcade with us after school? Yup, Izuku figured it was about time. At least a few times a day, different groups of girls in his class would try and get him and Katsuki to hang out with them. At first, Izuku just thought they were trying to be friendly, but Katsuki did his darndest to drill it into his head that the girls were nothing but attention seekers that wanted to be associated with them, much like most of the people in his class. At first, he thought his friend was just being paranoid, but after a while, it became clear that they all had ulterior motives. It was a somewhat sad reality, only being wanted for association's sake and not actual friendship, but Izuku had come to terms with it a bit. He learned to let them down easy and go about his business. It wasn't like he wasn't happy with Kaken, Auntie Mitsuki, and Uncle Masaru, Nozomi, and his mom in his life. Turning to face the trio of girls standing in front of his desk, Izuku gave them a polite smile.
Good morning, Akina, you here.
I don't know. Me and Kaken were supposed to hang out after school. Maybe ask him if he wants to go. Redirecting girls to Katsuki was always Izuku's ace in the hole, as the blonde teen had no qualms with telling them off. Katsuki, fuck off. We ain't got time to hang around with you losers. Short and sweet, classic Kaken. Usually, this would be the end of the conversation, but from the looks that the girls were giving each other, Izuku had a bad feeling that there would be some sort of scheme in the works. Aw, don't be like that, Katsuki-kun. Akino whined, twirling a strand of her between her fingers. Nah, Katsuki-kun. Your mom is a real estate agent, right? Hiyori asked. Izuku raised an eyebrow at the question while Katsuki eyed the girl suspiciously. Yeah, what's it to you? Oh, nothing. The girl casually swung her intertwined hands in front of her. It's just that. My mom is a real estate agent too, and she has a Bakugo Mitsuki that works at the same agency as her. They are friends, even. And from what I am told, Mitsuki-san talks a lot about her son and when he will finally start talking to girls. Now, what would she say if she knew that you were voluntarily telling girls off that want to spend quality time with you? She gave her friends a victory pose as Katsuki ground his teeth in anger. Grrrr. God damn it. Fine. We can go to the stupid arcade after school for 1 hour. And you fucks are buying. The girls squealed in delight with Izuku, trying to contain his laughter from his seat behind his spiky-haired friend. If there was anyone scarier when mad than Katsuki, it was easily his mom Mitsuki. As much as Katsuki talked back to her, he always listened to his mother in the end, and for good reason. Izuku slightly shivered at the thought of an enraged anti-Mitsuki. He had witnesses that many times over his years of friendship with Kaken. Katsuki shot around and slapped Izuku's desk with an explosion. The fuck are you laughing about, Deku? If I have to go, you have to go, you fucking nerd. Izuku stopped laughing and groaned. Ugh, hi, fine. Il come. They were partners, after all. He couldn't abandon Kaken, even for trivial things like this. The girls cried in joy, causing Izuku and Katsuki to slump their shoulders in defeat. Fucking bullshit, damn old lady. Katsuki muttered under his breath, arms crossed and an angry pout on his face. They were saved from any further coercing by the morning bell, as their teacher came through the doorway and hushed them all into their seats. Good morning, class. Please take your seats so we can get started. As you know, you're in your 3rd year, so we need to start talking about career paths. So, I have these career aptitude forms to fill out, but you all are aiming for the hero course. He threw the forms into the air as the majority of the class activated their quirks and cheered their lungs out. Now, I get that you're all excited, but quirk use is still prohibited. I'm not about to miss out on tenure cause you kids can't take it easy. Hey, don't lump me in with all these extras, sensei. Katsuki leaped on top of his desk and stuck a thumb to his chest. I'm going to UA next year, where I'll claim the top spot again and destroy everyone else on my way to becoming the #1 hero. I'll be better than All Might himself and go down in history as the greatest hero there ever was. You don't have to rub it in our faces, Katsuki. Yeah, you don't have to act like such a damn hot shot all the time. Katsuki ignored the whines from his peers and continued on his egotistical monologue. I aced all the practice exams, and with my awesome quirk, there is no way I'm not getting into UA. UA, huh? Midoriya, don't you want to go to that school too? Everyone turned to the back of the class, where Izuku looked up from his notebook. Yep, I am definitely gonna do my best to get into UA. It was All Might's alma mater after all. The rest of the class murmured wildly about the possibility of both of their top students getting into the national school. UA was notorious as the most prestigious hero school in Japan with a minuscule 0.2% acceptance rate and was where many of the world's current pro heroes began their journeys. Katsuki hopped down from his desk and leaned his face right in front of Deku's, a menacing smile on his face. Don't think that you're gonna do better than me, Deku. I am the one who is gonna surpass All Might. Try not to break an arm jerking yourself off, nerd. Despite Katsuki's visible aura of intimidation, Izuku showed no signs of backing down and simply shrugged to his longtime friend with a playful smirk on his face. I guess we'll see then, won't we, Kaken? All right, that's enough you two. Please settle down, and let's get started on some really interesting stuff. Who has heard of the War of 1812? Yep, school was definitely one of those mundane/boring things in life. The fuck do you mean you gotta run an errand? What the fuck, Deku? In the general sense of the word, Izuku considered himself a pretty nice guy. He tried to be kind to others and took pride in his empathy and sympathy. With that being said, he couldn't help but not feel all that bad that his mom had just texted him to run a few errands after school, meaning that he could not accompany Katsuki and the 3 girls to the arcade. He did feel slightly guilty, but seeing all 3 girls clinging to his best friend like their lives depended on it, blushes to accompany their giggles of feminine delight definitely helped combat that feeling. My mom just texted me and said she needed some stuff from the store for dinner tonight, but can't get them herself because she is working later than usual. Sorry. Izuku smiled weakly at his fuming friend. I can get it quickly and meet you guys there? It should only take me like 15 minutes tops. Katsuki grumbled under his breath, still not exploding at the girls hanging off of him, much to the impressed surprise of Izuku. Fine. Let's go already. You're on the clock. Cringing at the squealing teenage girls, Katsuki shot a look back at Izuku as he was being dragged out of the classroom. The message was loud and clear in Izuku's head. Hurry the fuck up, or you're dead. Checking the time on his phone, Izuku saw that he was ahead of schedule and sighed in relief that Katsuki would not have to be kept waiting much longer. I hope Kaken isn't being too difficult. I can't imagine how he is right now with just those 3 girls. Izuku stopped at an intersection, recognizing the area as a path he and Katsuki used to take sometimes as kids. Maybe I should take a shortcut. Adjusting his grasp on the plastic grocery bags full of dinner ingredients, Izuku headed through the tunnel. I keep my ideal Sorzor no Tenmei. Pausing to fish his phone out of his pocket, Izuku fumbled with the device before managing to hit the answer and slide it between his shoulder and ear. Hello? Hey, sweetie. I just was calling to check up on you. I read on the news that there is some sort of weird mud villain or something causing some problems in town. Be careful, okay? Izuku chuckled at his mother's worrisome nature. Don't worry, Mom. I'll be fine. I got all the stuff for dinner, by the way. I'm just gonna head to the arcade with Kaken for a bit first. I'll be home in a bit to start prepping dinner. A loud metallic rattling caused Izuku to trail off as he turned around and saw something emerge from the manhole he had just stepped over. I gotta go, Mom. Hanging up and putting his bags down, he peered up at the sludge monstrosity towering over him with wide eyes. Looks like I found a new skin suit to wear. The garbly male voice yelled as tendrils formed on the sides of his body and edged their way towards Izuku. Don't move, kid. It'll only hurt a lot. The sludge man tried to engulf Izuku within his body, but the green-headed boy swiftly leaped back to a safe distance, thanking his years of training for sharpening his instincts. Hold still, you little shit. I'm just gonna take over your body. The villain gurgled out. Right, 'cause that is a super desirable situation that I want to get in. You've convinced me. Izuku quipped. Looking around, Izuku didn't see anyone that could call for a hero or help in any way, or to witness if he used his quirk or not. Shit, I could probably turn into something and get the hell out of here, or kick this giant booger's ass. Should I risk using my quirk in public? Izuku blamed Kaken for making him love a good fight so damn much. He was shaken out of his contemplation as the sludge villain lunged at him once more, causing him to backpedal rapidly until Izuku was cornered against the wall of the tunnel. You're a quick little runt, aren't you? But it looks like you are all out of places to go. Now be a good little meatbag and hold still. Detroit. Izuku's head snapped towards the source of the voice so fast, he was surprised he didn't immediately get whiplash. There was absolutely no way in hell. Izuku had heard that he was spotted in town recently, but there had to be abso-fucking-lutely no way that he was here right now.
Smash.
The gust of wind that followed was not one that Izuku was prepared for, and he had to brace himself fairly hard in order to even just remain on his feet. The sludge villain, however, did not manage to keep his bearings and promptly exploded into a million little goopy bits. As the dust and drips of whatever the hell that guy was cleared, Izuku's eyes almost fell out of his head when he was standing before none other than the greatest hero the world has ever seen. He pulled back his extended arm and fell into his classic pose with his fists planted on his hips, a shining smile on his face. He sent Izuku a thumbs up and walked in his direction. Now directly in front of him, Izuku realized just how much he towered over him. Izuku was a teenager still, sure, but standing at 169 centimeters, 5 feet 6 inches and a half, for you Imperial users, he thought he was decently tall for his age. But the tower of muscle looking down at him, he made Izuku feel like a goddamn toddler. Young man, have no fear, for I am All Might. Izuku finally managed to scream out before his world went black. Izuku slowly stirred to the feeling of light slapping on his cheek. Opening his eyes, he found himself face to face with the symbol of peace himself, the All Might staring down at him. Good to see you are all right, young man. You had me worried there for a second. It took a few seconds for Izuku's brain to register just what was going on. The scene in the tunnel before he passed out flashed through his mind, and his look of confusion was quickly replaced with pure childlike excitement. Oh my god, I can't believe it. You're All Might. I'm your biggest fan in the whole world. I've followed you since I was old enough to read. I know all about all your coolest feats and everything. Can I have your autograph? Hastily digging through his backpack, Izuku whipped out his hero analysis for the future volume 13 and flipped through it like a madman to find an open page for his all-time idol to sign. He already signed it. Huh. I already signed it, dear boy. By the way, those notes of yours are very impressive. I have not seen such detailed and thorough analysis in a very long time, and from such a young mind at that. I am always happy to meet a fan, but I must be off. I need to take this villain to the proper authorities. I have been chasing this guy all day. All Might held up a pair of soda bottles containing what looked to be the sludge villain that had attacked earlier. If the creepy blinking eye was anything to go off of at least. As All Might began limbering his legs up to depart, Izuku stood frozen, his mind running a mile a minute. There were so many things about heroics that he needed to know about. More than anything, he needed to talk to his idol about the thoughts that had been plaguing him more and more. What chance could he have like this again, with All Might literally right in front of him? All Might squatted down and sprang high into the air, not noticing the teenage boy just being able to grab onto his leg as he was leaving the ground. As he soared high over the concrete jungle that was Mizutofu, All Might felt something squeezing on his calf and looked down to see Izuku holding on to him. Both of them looked at each other for a few moments. What are you doing, young man? I know I said I like to meet fans, but this is a little bit much. Let go of me. But if you let me go from this high up, I'm gonna die. Izuku could barely hear anything with the wind whipping so violently in his ears. He had gotten somewhat used to flying after practicing extensively as different birds, but he had never gone nearly as fast as All Might, and by extension, he was currently going. All Might seemed to legitimately take that in as new information. Good point. This was so not how Izuku saw his afternoon going. Not only did he almost get attacked by some kind of sewer monster sludge villain thing, but he got saved by freaking All Might and even got his autograph. But none of those things combined could compare to what Izuku had learned after they had landed on the rooftop of a nearby apartment building, though. So you're saying that you're dying? Izuku tried his hardest to not let a crack in his voice come through his unsteady speech. It couldn't be, right? There was no way All Might was going to die. He was the greatest hero ever. Not me literally, Peresi, but the All Might that the world has come to know. The hero All Might will soon become no more. There was something about the scrawny skeletal form of All Might that just kind of creeped Izuku out, but he did his best to not think about it too much. You see, a few years ago, I suffered a terrible injury fighting an absolutely notorious villain. All Might raised his shirt up to reveal a gruesome scar on his torso. Izuku's breath caught in his throat seeing the damage caused to his hero. After countless surgeries and operations, my stomach and about half of my respiratory system are well beyond repair. Letting his shirt fall back down, All Might looked down at his hand, which was now clenched into a fist. At this point, I can probably keep my muscle form up for around 3 hours per day, and even then that isn't taking any extreme activity into account. He turned towards Izuku, a slight frown on his face. Now you know my secret. I don't think I have to tell you that this is not something that should be spread around. Izuku audibly gulped. How could he not be nervous out of his mind? He just basically got threatened by All Might. It didn't matter that he was skinny right now. He was still All Might. Now, if that is all, I must really be going. Wait. Izuku was not even sure himself what he was really going to get out of this conversation, but he had to try. Please, All Might. You're the greatest hero the world has ever seen, and there is no one more qualified to answer me. Izuku took a deep breath, willing himself to get everything out without sounding like a nervous little kid. I've wanted to be a hero more than anything else in the world for as long as I could remember. But everywhere I look, different heroes surface and all act for different reasons. I always thought you just have to save everyone no matter what, and as long as you can make people smile, everything would be okay. But the more I think about it, there is so much that goes into it. Politics, logistics, life/death decisions. What if you can't save everyone? What if I find out I'm not good enough to protect all the people that I would be responsible for? Izuku had definitely grown in confidence as he grew up, thanks in large part to Kaken pushing him and the abilities of his quirk, but sitting in front of his all-time idol, he just felt everything wash away and leave him vulnerable and in need of answers to all the doubts that had ever plagued him since he decided that he wanted to become a hero. He heard All Might let out a deep sigh. Midoriya, was it? Izuku merely nodded in response. I'm going to be honest with you. If you think that any hero, myself included, can save everyone all the time, then I vastly overestimated your intellect. Being a hero means many things, but above all else, a true hero must not falter in the face of adversity and be the pillar of support that the public need them to be. From what you just told me, there is a heavy burden on your mind, and more importantly, your heart. Heroes must defeat the fear inside themselves before they can even think about saving a single person. With that kind of mindset, I would have to say that you don't have what it takes to be a hero.
Dziewku dziega.
His head began spinning, his eyes began clouding with tears. His breath became ragged, and he had to sit against the wall to try and calm himself. Think about what I said to you today, boy. Heroes cannot hesitate when it comes to doing what is right. Sometimes that includes making tough decisions, and it surely includes making mistakes. If you cannot take those decisions to heart, freeing yourself of the burden they bring, and learn from them to do better in the future, there is no hope from you. Good day, All Might said before reverting to his muscle form and bounding off of the roof and down to the streets below. Katsuki was going to absolutely blast that damn nerd to fucking kingdom come. How the hell did Deku worm his way out of coming to the arcade and not have to deal with these three bitches? If that one girl didn't know his mom, there was no way in hell any of this would be happening right now. As he and the three made their way through the streets, the girls talking about just about anything and everything, Akina spoke up from her spot on his left arm. Katsuki-kun, do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Was his irritated reply. Do you want one? The girls stepped forward and stopped in front of him, posing for him in what they thought to be a provocative manner. Katsuki didn't so much as blink as he continued walking by them with his hands dug into his pockets.
No.
And stop acting like such whores, you're 15. I wouldn't spit in weak girls like yours directions, anyway. Now hurry the hell up, I know a shortcut to the arcade through this back street. The trio of girls stood watching Katsuki's back as he kept walking. They each shared a determined pout and nodded to each other. Katsuki-kun likes to play hard to get. This caused Katsuki to stop in his tracks, and he turned around with disbelieved scowl on his face. Huh? You bitches brain dead or something? Where the hell did you get that stupid-ass idea? Huh? You wanna fucking die? Katsuki had both of his palms out, crackling slightly as his irritation grew into legitimate anger. The looks of utter fear on the girls' faces brought him some satisfaction, but looking at their eyes, he was confused by the fact that their gazes weren't on him, but behind him? Well, if it isn't just my luck. Another potential skin suit to camouflage in, with such a strong quirk too. I'm gonna enjoy this, blondie. Katsuki slowly turned his head around to see a wave of sludge leap in his direction. Getting his palms out in front of him, Katsuki let of an explosion strong enough to propel himself back out of harm's way. You three, get the fuck out of here. The girls, presumably too scared to move, looked at Katsuki in disbelief, but Katsuki-kun, go. I'll take this prick on. Waiting for the girls to escape out of the other end of the alleyway, Katsuki turned back to the sludge villain and rolled his sleeves up. You think you're some kind of hot shit, huh? Let me show you just who you're messing with, you big pile of snot. Launching himself forward with an explosion, Katsuki zipped across the alley in an instant and stopped above the villain, where he aimed his hands down, wrists connected. Eat shit. Kaboom. Katsuki landed and smirked as the smoke cleared from his attack, and all that was left was a mess of a pile of goop. Haha. Take that, you shitty fucker. Turning around to step out of the alley, he heard the slimy battle cry a second too late as he suddenly found himself engulfed completely. Izuku could not remember a time where he had felt so defeated. How could he not, after being told what he is by one of the people he looked up to most in the world? Walking aimlessly down the street, the harsh but fair words of All Might rang throughout his mind. Am I really not cut out to be a hero? Wanting to be a hero who makes people feel safe with so much as a smile, that's all I've ever known to want. I have a burden on my heart that I need to overcome. I know I can overthink sometimes, but how can I just completely shut my thoughts out when there are so many things that can happen? Izuku sighed heavily as he slumped his shoulders. Oh shit, I should probably call Kakin and let him know I'm on my way. I hope he didn't blow up at those girls too hard. Wouldn't put it past him, though. Izuku tapped his foot impatiently as the line rang. Voicemail. Not like Kakin to not answer his phone. I guess it's probably loud in the arcade or something. Just as Izuku pocketed his phone, a massive explosion rumbled the ground beneath him. What the hell? He looked to see a massive plume of smoke in the sky, in the exact direction of where the arcade was. Shit, he exclaimed, breaking into a mad sprint towards the source of the explosion. Please stay back, everyone. The villain is unstable and could launch attacks in this direction at any moment. Izuku panted as he came to a stop, just outside the scene being barricaded by pro-heroes and the police. Digging his way through the crowd, he eventually made it to the front, where he saw a plethora of pro-heroes trying to contain the situation. Notably, Backdraft putting out fires, Kemuri Woods rescuing civilians from the blast zone, and Death Arms and MT Lady just standing there? Why aren't the heroes trying to go in and confront the villain? Apparently their quirks aren't suited to deal with a villain made of sludge. The only one that could is probably Backdraft, but he is busy trying to put out the fires from the explosions. Izuku turned from the people talking in the crowd and back towards the center of the square, where his eyes widened when he saw the same sludge villain that had attacked him earlier in the day. How did this guy escape? All Might caught him in those soda bottles and put them safely away in his pants pocket, the same one that Izuku grabbed onto before they went up in the air. Shit. Izuku had his head in his hands. This is my fault. I need to do something to fix this, but can I really? Do I have what it takes? Even if I do, with all these people here, there is no way in hell that I can get away with using my quirk. I'd get fined out of my ass for sure, and undoubtedly get blacklisted by UA shit. The villain suddenly began flailing wildly, letting off several more explosions before it separated a bit at the center, revealing a distressed pair of eyes that Izuku immediately recognized. Kaken. Before he could even register what he was doing, Izuku had hurdled the police barricade and was running as hard as he could towards his best friend. He heard several calls for him to stop, but paid them no mind as he grabbed his backpack and flung it right at the sludge villain's face. The sludge man yelled in pain as his many books and school supplies impacted with his eyeball, causing him to falter enough for Katsuki to free his face and mouth. Bleg. Deku, what the fuck are you doing? Get the hell out of here. Despite the fear coursing throughout Izuku's body, he somehow managed to give Katsuki a shaky smile. No can do, Kaken. Even though I'll probably never live to hear you say it, we're partners and best friends. Be sure to make a name for yourself at UA. For the both of us, okay? Izuku's nervous grin may have fooled some people, but Katsuki was not just some people. He knew exactly what the nerd was going to do. He could see it in his eyes. Deku. His call was for naught, as Izuku had already jumped several feet back and shed his school uniform, leaving him in only a green and black bodysuit, the same suit that Bakugo and his parents had helped Inko pay for to keep Izuku from being naked when he used his quirk. Izuku wasted no time in transforming into an elephant and kicking over a nearby fire hydrant, causing a pillar of water to shot out of the ground. Taking as much as he could into his trunk, Izuku turned towards the sludge villain, holding Bakugo, and sprayed it as hard as he could, tuning out the garbled yells of the villain, along with the shouts from both heroes and civilians behind him. Izuku focused on nothing but using all his strength to free Katsuki. There is no way I'm not gonna catch a case for quirk use in public with all these people here. I guess this is it. Just as he was about to run out of water in his trunk, he saw that Katsuki was mostly free from the sludge. But if it means I can save someone, no. Regrets. Breaking into a run, Izuku quickly morphed to his gorilla form and grabbed Katsuki by the waist, yanking him completely free of the sludge villain and tossing him to safety. Izuku was about to make a break for it himself, but the sludge villain somehow managed to trap him by the leg with one of its slimy tendrils. Erg, you are gonna die, you little brat. Detroit. Izuku's head shot up. Damn you, All Might. The villain screeched. Smayawash. The villain was once again obliterated by the sheer force of All Might's punch, completely freeing Izuku of entrapment. The wind caused by All Might's attack soared upwards, separating the clouds above, and causing a dark overcast to quickly form above them. Holy shit, it's All Might. Wait, it's raining. Look at the clouds, they're moving. He changed the weather with a single punch. That's the #1 hero for you. Izuku looked on in disbelief. All Might had saved him again, even after what was said between them. Rushing in to help, doing your best to help save the day no matter the cost, that's the true test of a hero. After getting thoroughly reprimanded for recklessly rushing in to save Katsuki while simultaneously being praised for his quirk, Izuku was making his way home, Katsuki by his side brooding the whole way. After several minutes of silence, Katsuki was the first one to speak. I didn't need your help, you damn nerd. I don't owe you anything, you got that? Izuku chuckled wistfully at his friend. I know, Kaken. I was just doing what anyone else would do. What a hero would do, right? Tisich, none of those so-called pros had the balls to do anything. Bunch of pussies. Izuku said nothing, but smiled at Katsuki and kept walking. Izuku, said boy froze in place, turning around to face his best friend. Izuku hadn't heard Kaken call him by his name in over 10 years, so he knew what he needed to say was serious. Katsuki's face was unreadable for the most part, but Izuku could easily read the look in his eyes. You better not try and throw your damn dream away again like you did today. If you think that I am gonna accept being the best hero in the world without kicking your ass on the way up, you got another thing coming. Izuku could have sworn he saw a genuine smile flash across Katsuki's face for a split second, but it vanished as soon as it appeared. The boys said nothing else to each other as Katsuki turned down his street to head home, hands dug into his pockets. Izuku stood there for a moment, staring at Katsuki's back. A small grin broke across his face as he shook his head and continued on towards his own house. I am here. Ah. Izuku jolted backwards in shock as All Might suddenly appeared out of nowhere and skidded to a halt in front of him. All Might? Where did you come from? Weren't you getting hounded by like a million reporters? Ha ha ha. All Might let out a booming laugh. I stand for justice, not sound bites. Because I am All Might, blurg. All Might puffed back into his skeleton form, wiping the blood dripping from his mouth. Young man, I came here to thank you, and also to discuss our conversation from earlier. If you hadn't told me what you had, if you hadn't run into that fight, I would have been a worthless bystander watching from the crowd. You showed no hesitation to rush in and save your friend from a villain even pro-heroes on the scene were wary to deal with. Tell me something, what were you thinking when you ran in to save that blonde kid? Izuku rubbed his chin in ponderance. Well, my legs kind of moved on their own. Before I knew it, I was there trying to save him. I even used my quirk knowing I would probably get in a lot of trouble for it, but Kaken is safe, so that's really all that matters to me. An excellent answer. You know, when recounting tales of heroics from the youths, all pros share a common element in their answer. They moved without thinking, seeing someone in need and immediately going to their aid without any worries or fears to hold you back. That is the true essence of a hero. And to hear that you were willing to get into legal trouble just to save your friend, well, that's something that simply can't be ignored either. Izuku's insides were doing backflips, and he stared his idol right in the sunken-in eyes. WW, what are you saying, All Might? All Might smirked. I'm saying, I spoke too hastily earlier on the roof. From what I've seen from how you acted today, there is no doubt in my mind that you can become a hero. Those 5 words from his idol, from his hero, they meant more than anything Izuku could think of. He could not hold back the emotions welling up within him, and ended up hunched over on the ground, failing to hold back steady tears. I'm not done. Your heroic actions today, even with the doubts and worries I knew you had on yourself, it inspired me to act. To be the hero I'm supposed to be. I have been in town, searching for the right person, for a protege to take under my wing and eventually be my successor as the symbol of peace. He looked up at All Might with wide, glistening eyes. Midoriya Izuku, I choose you. I deem you worthy of my power. My quirk is yours to inherit. Huh. So let me get this straight. Your quirk is something called One for All, and it was passed down for several generations, gaining more power each time it was handed down to a new successor, and you want to pass it down to me next? All Might hummed. That about sums it up, yes. Though your explanation is a lot less awesome and climactic than mine. But anyway, I have been in town looking for a successor, so this works out well for both of us, wouldn't you say? Izuku gnawed on his lower lip, trying to take in the insane information that he was being given. He eventually opened his mouth to speak, but All Might beat him to it. Before you say what I think you are going to say, yes, I am sure I want to choose you to inherit One for All. I can see the fire in your eyes, the burning desire to be a hero more than anything else. I saw a sliver of your untapped potential back there with the sludge villain. And I'll admit, you remind me a lot of myself when I was your age. While not entirely untrue, the things I said on that rooftop were products of my frustration at being found out so easily, paired with the fact that I was chasing a disgusting slime man all day. So what do you say, young Midoriya? Will you accept my power? Izuku's head drooped as he stared at his clenched fists. Can I really do something like this? Inherit All Might's power. Have the strength and will of previous symbols of peace as a part of me? Oh, who am I kidding? Yes, I accept. Izuku was at least glad he didn't start crying again, as emotional as he was. An immediate answer. I like that. I'd expect nothing less. Izuku looked up at All Might, the sunset framing his lanky body. He had an expectant smile on his face, just begging to know what would next. So, first things first, young Midoriya, do you have plans this Saturday? Izuku sighed as he finally reached home and plopped down in his entryway to take his shoes off. Man, what a day. Izuku massaged his sore feet. He had hardly a second to relax before he was glomped and found himself on his back with a very excited Rottweiler hovering over him and licking his face. Hey Nozomi, he greeted, scratching her up and down the sides of her belly. You would not believe the day that I had. Putting his things away, Izuku changed out of his uniform. Ook, gross. His clothes reeked, probably from almost being swallowed by that sludge monster. Izuku looked up at the many pieces of All Might memorabilia on his wall and sighed wistfully. I still can't believe I met All Might, disappointed him, and impressed him to the point of picking me to be his successor all in the same day. He suddenly heard his phone buzz from his nightstand. Leaning over his bed, He grabbed it and slid it open. Mom, hey honey, I'll be home in 5. Meeting got cancelled. You started dinner already? Izuku's stomach dropped. He held a hand over his mouth, staring wide-eyed at his phone. Shit, 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 shit. Izuku scrambled to his feet, barely managing to keep himself from slipping on the hardwood floor, and made a mad dash for the kitchen. Woof woof, Nozomi barked, running back and forth between the hallway leading to the door and the kitchen where Izuku was standing. Mom's on her way upstairs. Izuku frantically looked around the room for the groceries he bought for dinner. Trying to retrace his steps, Izuku thought hard about where he had last placed his grocery bags. Okay, so I bought them and had them on the way to the arcade. And in the tunnel, Izuku held his head in his hands. In the tunnel. Just then, he heard the front door open and the shuffling of feet to signal his mom coming home. Izuku, Nozomi, I'm home. How's dinner coming? Izuku fell to his knees with a rain cloud over his head as he heard his mom's slippered feet pattering on the floor getting louder. Nozomi walked over him and peered at him curiously. I wonder if All Might will still be able to train me after I'm dead. Izuku rubbed his eyes as he slowly trudged down the sidewalk towards the beach he was supposed to meet All Might. He yawned into his hand. Geez, it's way too early. Izuku woke up early almost every morning to train, but waking up at dawn was a little bit too much, even for him. Going down the steps and onto the sand, he saw All Might sitting on top of a steel barrel, gazing at the sun beginning to rise over the horizon. Ah, young Midoriya, good morning, All Might said, turning around to face the drowsy teen. Mornin', All Might. Don't get me wrong, I understand the idea behind training so early in the morning, but why are we here? Izuku looked around Dagoba Beach, barely able to see anything outside of directly in front of him past the massive heaps of trash and waste piled up along the shore. All Might hopped off of his seat and gazed around the beach as well. A good question, my boy. You see, I read online recently that this beach was once a beautiful place that many people used to come and enjoy on a regular basis. But then trash and junk began to wash up on the shore, and it eventually got out of hand to what it is today. Yeah, once trash started showing up, people started dumping their trash along with it. But I still don't really see where you're going with this, All Might. Izuku scratched his cheek in confusion. Right to the point, my boy. All Might replied with a pointed finger at his young protege. You see, many people, heroes included, tend to forget that the original role of heroes in society is community service. So, in order to help instill a foundational value of heroics, and to help train your body better to inherit my quirk, not to mention the fact that I have property near here, and you cleaning up the entire beach will help the value skyrocket. Ahem. You are going to clean this entire area and restore the gorgeous view for the whole beach. Izuku looked around at the massive piles of junk surrounding the two of them and encompassing about 99% of the beach once more. This is the first real step, huh? He was interrupted by a tin can hitting him square in the back of his head. Hey, what's with all this standing around? We're burning daylight out here. You want to get strong enough to handle my quirk, don't you? How much stronger do I have to get? I thought I was in pretty good condition. I work out all the damn time. He trailed off with a small pout on his face. Well, yes, I agree that you are in good shape for your age, but we are talking about you inheriting the quirk to make you the next symbol of peace. All Might buffed himself up and flexed his biceps. If I gave you my quirk right at this moment, there is a very good chance that if you activated it, your limbs would blow off of your body. Don't want that, do we? Izuku paled at the idea of his arms and legs bursting off of his torso. Why didn't you tell me that before? All Might chucked another tin can at Izuku, eliciting a cry of annoyance. Doesn't matter. With my super-duper make my successor into a suitable vessel workout plan, you will be ready in no time. Now get to work. I have a lot more things heavier than cans that I can hit you with, you know? High. Days, weeks, and eventually months passed as Izuku continued his training with All Might in cleaning up the beach. At first, the meticulously scheduled routine was absolutely brutal for the young man, making him feel like what was essentially a walking corpse for most of the day. He did his best to deflect any questions or concerns from his classmates, but he was sure that if it kept up the way it was, everyone would become way too suspicious for him to handle properly. But as time went on, he got more and more used to the grueling work and eventually began to seem at least slightly alive when he was at school. No one, not even his mother, who while worried, was placated by the excuse that he was just training extra hard for the UA entrance exam coming up, was more suspicious than Katsuki. A brilliant mind in his own right, and very adept at reading Izuku, it was expected that the ash blonde would not be so easy to fool, and even harder to keep entirely in the dark. However, with All Might's consultation, Izuku managed to solidify the story that he was just training on his own, so that when Yue came around, he could surprise Katsuki with his growth. If it was anyone else, there might have been more questions asked, but knowing Katsuki's competitive nature and love of a good challenge, it was relatively easy to keep him from prying too much. Izuku wiped the beads of sweat dripping from his forehead as he lugged an old refrigeration unit across the beach to the dump truck that All Might had parked nearby. Grunting in effort as he lifted the hunk of metal up and into the back of the truck, he stood for a moment, taking a breather. It had been 5 months since his extreme training had started, and Izuku couldn't help but smile when he thought about the progress he had been making. He had already been decently muscular thanks to his years of training, but with All Might's help, he had gone from lean and fit to much more filled out and muscular. He definitely noticed the looks he was getting from girls in his class, and it made him almost equally as proud as he was embarrassed. He had also grown a bit, now just a hair taller than Kaken, something that the latter was not happy to find out and griped about on a semi-regular basis. Getting back to work, Izuku began pulling an old set of lockers across the sand, straining and sputtering as he did his best to bring the large object towards the truck. Come on, come on. Pulling with all his energy, Izuku felt a sudden sharp pain shooting up his arms. Yelling out and dropping to his knees holding his triceps, he sucked air in sharply to try and somehow ease the pain coursing through his body. Hey, what's with all this sitting around, huh? You're gonna fall behind schedule if you keep wasting time. Young Midoriya, All Might scolded, coming up to the kneeling boy on his Segway, doing circles around him and shaking his fist. Peering a bit closer, All Might noticed the throbbing and twitching coming from his ward's arms and skidded to a halt. He crouched down to examine them and began shaking his head. What did I tell you about overworking yourself? I made the training schedule with your exact body type and muscle growth in mind. Any more than that, and you won't be able to recover enough to get any stronger. Breathing heavily through the pain, Izuku gritted his teeth. I have to get stronger as fast as possible so that I can handle your quirk. I have no time to sit around. I need to be ready. You said it yourself. You only have so much time left. I have to be ready to be there when you can't anymore. He was stopped by All Might chopping down on the top of his head. My boy, I appreciate and understand the method behind this madness. But you must understand that you are still young, and there is plenty of time to improve without destroying your muscles beyond repair. I said I was going to make you a suitable vessel and help you hone in one for all, didn't I? So trust me when I say you are doing just fine. Incredible, in fact. Izuku blushed at the praise, but said nothing to interrupt. But I like the fire you're showing, as hard-headed as it is. Tell you what, maybe I can take another look at that workout plan and see some places where extra time can be allocated to training, huh? Izuku, despite not being able to lift his arms just yet, nodded vigorously and rose to his feet. Thank you, All Might. Okay, back to it. All Might chuckled at Izuku's relentless behavior. About what I'd expect from you, my boy. Although, I don't see why you don't want to use your quirk to help you clean up faster. I would think using it would still help you train in whatever animal you use to carry the trash, though I am not entirely sure if that is how it works. Izuku stopped dead in his tracks at All Might's words. Wait a minute. I could have used my quirk to help with my training. This entire time? All Might let out a hearty laugh. Well, I never said you couldn't use it. And you also never asked, young Midoriya? His laughter died down, however, when Izuku turned back to him with a disturbing look on his face before All Might found himself face to face with a ravenous lion snarling at him. Why, well, young Midoriya? Let's calm down for a moment, the skeleton man pleaded, waving his hands frantically in front of him. You know I've already used up my time for today, so would you really want to harm a defenseless, injured old man like myself over something so trivial? All Might could have sworn he saw what looked to be a sadistic smile on the animal Izuku's face, but started running away too hastily to verify it. Ha! The chilly December air nipped at All Might as he breathed into his hands in attempts to keep them warm. Adjusting the scarf tied snugly around his neck, he made his way down the steps towards the beach. He stopped dead in his tracks as he looked around and saw a completely clean beach. Oh, my goodness! All Might excitedly yelled, buffing up for a moment. He walked further down the shore to look for his wonderful protege, only to find the boy passed out in the sand, a tired yet satisfied smile on his face. All Might shook his head with a chuckle and decided to let him enjoy his well-deserved rest. He sat down in the sand and pulled his cell phone out of his trench coat. Ring, 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 hello? Yes, sir, it's All Might. Yes, he has done well in such a short amount of time. It's quite impressive. The same time we agreed on? Okay, thank you, sir. Goodbye. He turned at the sound of Izuku beginning to stir, smiling at the boy as he rose to a sitting position. Oh, hey All Might. I finished cleaning up the beach. That you did, my boy. I'm surprised you aren't more excited about it. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Well, I kinda burned myself out at the end when I cleaned the last of the junk. Believe me, I feel great about finishing what was set out for me. Izuku was definitely not going to mention the 5 minutes Izuku spent screaming in victory at the top of a giant heap of junk into the sky, which was what caused him to pass out in the sand on the first place. No, that was just for him. Young Midoriya, you've exceeded my expectations. You finished cleaning the beach, a feat that I estimated would take at least 9 months to complete, in just over 7.5. Seeing Izuku's face light up with pride brought a warmth to All Might's heart. You've done extremely well, and have earned your place as a suitable vessel to inherit my quirk. Pulling his phone out, All Might showed a picture he took of Izuku when the training first began. Whoa, I looked like that only 7.5 months ago. Izuku couldn't believe his eyes. He was not scrawny before by any means, but he was almost twice as built as he was in the photo. Tell me something, how much could you bench before training started? Izuku took a second to think, maybe like 150 pounds? All Might grabbed a bench press station from the junk pile and dragged it in front of Izuku. The boy laid down and All Might spotted him with the barbell. Go ahead, my boy. Seeing Izuku bench the bar with relative ease brought a smirk to All Might's face. Haha, that was 350 pounds. Young Midoriya. Izuku almost lost his grip on the bar, but managed to safely secure it on the rack and shot up from his lying position. Seriously? He looked at his own body in amazement. Wow, I knew I was getting stronger, but I didn't think I would see this much progress this quickly. All Might patted him firmly on his shoulders. My boy, you worked very hard to get the results you see before you. Now that your body is finally ready, it is time for me to pass one for all down to you. Izuku's eyes lit up and he nodded so hard. All Might thought his head would snap off of his body. Izuku's mind was going waywire with his excitement. How was one for all passed down? Would he go through some amazing and epic ritual where the essence of All Might's power is extracted and transferred into him like in one of those cool movies he's seen? Would he have to consume a special heart-shaped herb and buried alive in some kind of mystical dirt? Would he have to find a bunch of orange orbs, gather them in a circle, and summon a giant magical dragon in the sky? He just had to know. Now, All Might began, plucking a long blonde strand of hair from the top of his own head, holding it out to his successor. Eat this. After a few moments of confusion, and a few more moments of disgusted acceptance, Izuku finally managed to swallow the hair that All Might offered to him. All Might had decided that Izuku earned a day off after all of his hard work, so he was to go home and relax, to both recover his worn muscles and let one for all fully integrate with his DNA. Walking down the street with his arms crossed behind his head, Izuku's thoughts wandered all over the place. All Might said that the hair would have to digest before I would be able to use one for all, and he won't let me work out anymore today. So what the hell am I supposed to do until tomorrow? For most teenagers, a free Saturday would be a blessing of a gift. But for Izuku, who spent the last 7.5 months training non-stop, he found himself starting to get antsy with nothing to do to keep himself occupied. I can't even ask Kakin if he wants to hang out. His parents took him on that cruise to South Korea for that super spicy teppanyaki festival. Man, Izuku said with a pout. Guess I'll just go home or something and oof. Not watching where he was going, Izuku bumped into someone, causing them to fall and drop their bag onto the ground. Immediately, he got on the ground and collected the things that fell out of the dropped bag. I'm so sorry, are you okay? Izuku said, handing the bag back to the girl he knocked over. Yeah, I'm fine. I wasn't looking where I was going either, so it's all good. The girl said, giving Izuku a friendly smile, showing an interesting set of sharp teeth. Taking a good look at the girl, Izuku blushed a bit at how cute she was. Her hair, a pale blonde similar to Kakin's, was pulled back into 2 spiky clumps on either side of her head, and a long bang framing the right side of her face. She was wearing an aquamarine turtleneck sweater, paired with a pair of dark blue jeans, not hiding much of her curvaceous figure, much to Izuku's embarrassment. Hello. The girl waved a hand in front of Izuku's face, causing him to flinch backwards in surprise. Oh sorry, hee. I kinda spaced out there for a second, huh? Izuku inwardly cringed at himself for being such a socially awkward goof. The girl was eyeing him curiously, yet he could see a small hint of playfulness in her eyes that somehow put Izuku slightly at ease. I am Midoriya Izuku. It's nice to meet you. Sorry again for knocking you over, hee. Izuku finished, rubbing his neck awkwardly. The girl giggled at him, causing a blush to reappear on his face. Damn it, she has such a cute laugh. She fixed her bag strap around her shoulder and put her hand out. Nakagame tatami. Izuku took the handshake and the two shared a friendly grin. It's nice to meet you too, Midoriya-kun. And don't worry about bumping into me. I was kinda not paying all that much attention either. I am in town on vacation, and I can't make heads or tails of these streets. I tried looking at a map, but it only made me more confused, she said with a slight chuckle. Oh, well, I know this area pretty well. Would you like some help? Tatami giggled into her hand at Izuku's nervousness. Look at you swooping in to save a damsel in distress. Is this some sort of pickup strategy? She lost her composure and fell into full-blown laughter at seeing Izuku's burning blush at her words. She punched him playfully in the arm. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Gosh, lighten up a little, Midoriya-kun. I would love your help if you're offering. Izuku, while still blushing, managed a genuine smile. I'll do my best. So where to, Nakagame-san? Izuku really did not expect for his day to end up spent with Tatami going all over the city sightseeing. He definitely didn't expect to have the time of his life either. Tatami was incredibly easy to talk to, and the two quickly learned quite a bit about each other. It was interesting for Izuku to learn that Tatami was already in her first year at Ketsubutsu Academy. Hanging out with Tatami really reminded Izuku what it was like to have genuine interactions with someone that just liked him for the kind of person he was, and not just because he was strong or bound to be successful. He honestly couldn't remember the last time he laughed so hard and smiled to the point of his face aching. After months and months of harsh training, he really needed to just kick back and have some well-deserved fun. Food stalls, parks, monuments, you name it. The pair went all over the city, enjoying the sights and each other's company more and more as the day went on. At one point, Tatami somehow convinced Izuku to go to a maid cafe with her, where she spent the entire time laughing at his flusteredness around all of the cute waitresses calling him master and waiting on him hand and foot. After a long day of walking around, the two found an empty park bench to rest their weary feet. The pair sat in comfortable silence, happy smiles on their faces as the wonderful day they shared replayed in their minds. Izuku absently let his hand hang off the bench, where a small bird hopped towards him curiously. The creature pecked lightly at his fingers before Izuku extended his index and gave the bird a perch to stand on. Hey there, little one. He cooed, getting a delighted chirp from the bird and a surprised stare from Tatami. Whoa, that's like nature, dude. How are you doing that, Midoriya-kun? Tatami said, still staring wide-eyed at Izuku playing with the little chick. Not looking away from the bird, Izuku smiled wistfully at the little creature, petting its head softly with his free hand. It's probably because of my quirk. I can transform into different animals, and since I was little, I've had this unspoken connection with animals, and I get along with pretty much everyone that I meet. He gently thrusted his hand upward, letting the bird fly off towards whatever it needed to be doing, and turned to meet Tatami's amazed expression. That's so cool. Your quirk sounds awesome, Midoriya. Way cooler than mine, she admitted sheepishly. Mine is called telescopic. I can instantly retract my limbs and head into my body, kind of like a turtle does. She demonstrated by holding out her arm and sucking it into her torso. She looked up at Izuku and was taken aback with just how genuinely impressed he looked. Midoriya? As if she had opened up the dam holding back a great lake, Izuku's quirky quirk-loving flooded out faster than she could even keep up with. That's an incredibly cool quirk, Nakagame-san. Just think of how useful that would be in combat scenarios. A villain could think they have you on the ropes throwing a right hook at your head, and poof, retract your head and dodge like a champ. Or even, imagine someone tries and restrain you with rope or something, they turn around for 1 second and poof. You're like a magician, you can escape from anything. You can even use it to hide. You could retract your limbs and hide in crates or barrels, or anything else that other people wouldn't be able to. As Izuku carried on in his intense rambling, Tatami went wide-eyed at how much he was praising her quirk and all the things he thought she could do. She was always a bit self-conscious of how her quirk wasn't all that flashy or strong, like her classmate Shindo's was, for instance. Hearing Izuku say all those things brought butterflies to Tatami's stomach, and she couldn't help but blush at his words. I just know you're going to be an awesome hero someday. That was the last straw on the camel's back for Tatami. Turning to the freckled teen with a warm grin, she gently turned him by his shoulders so that they were facing each other, somehow not even breaking him out of his rambling trance. Midoriya-kun. Nothing. Midoriya. He didn't even pause to breathe. Izuku. Izuku finally was broken out of his spell. Tatami guessed the shock of her calling him by his first name was enough to do it. Once he actually registered that she had done that, he immediately went red as a tomato and began sputtering uncontrollably. Once again amused by his reactions, Tatami couldn't help but giggle. He really was too cute for his own good. Growing uncharacteristically shy, Tatami couldn't look up from her fidgeting hands. You don't mind if I call you Izuku, do you? Getting what somewhat resembled a no, I don't mixed in with flustered gibberish, she carried on, I. Just want to tell you how much what you said means to me. I've always been kinda self-conscious about my quirk and how it isn't all that good for hero work and all that stuff. And to hear all those things you said, it really makes me happy, you know? So thank you, Izuku, for putting up with me today, for letting me drag you all over the city, and most of all for this. She gave Izuku a smile that knocked the breath out of his lungs and made his heart clench like he had never felt in his life. Gulping out of nervousness, Izuku twiddled his thumbs, unable to meet Tatami's gaze after the look she gave him. Why, you're welcome, Nakagame-san. Tatami pouted at him and lightly shoved him in his shoulder. Hey, if I get to call you by your first name, then you gotta call me by my first name too. Okay. Izuku let out a deep breath, trying his best to calm his nerves. Come on, Izuku, get a hold of yourself. You are better than this. Sure, she is cute, beautiful, charming, funny, sweet, fun, cool, and a million gazillion other good adjectives, but that does not mean you have to sit here and act like you've never talked to a girl in your life. You can do this. Oh God. She's probably sitting there thinking I'm a weirdo because I just stopped talking. Say something. Anything. I think you're gorgeous. New. What? Tatami said, a blush quickly creeping up on her pale skin. Oh, really? Why, yeah, I really do. Izuku was screaming to high heaven internally, but he supposed there was no backing out now. Tatami let out what sounded almost like a faint squeal as she held her burning cheeks. Thank you, Izuku. The two fell into a terribly awkward silence, with neither teen knowing what to say next. Before they knew it, it was late in the evening, and the sun was setting as most people were on their way home for the night. Izuku, I kinda have to go soon. My train back home leaves first thing tomorrow. Oh, okay. That's all you have to say to her. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Nah, Izuku. You're applying to UA next year, right? Tatami said, staring off at the sunset, the orange hue shining on her face in a way that made Izuku's insides do somersaults. Yeah, I am. Well, promise me that you'll make it, and the next time we see each other, we'll talk about all the cool stuff we've done. Next time? Of course. You think you aren't going to get drug around all day for adventures by me at least a dozen more times? Well, think again, buddy. You're stuck with me, got it? Izuku turned to meet Tatami's gaze, and they both smiled widely at each other. Got it. So, where are we going again? Izuku curiously gazed out the window of All Might's sedan as the cityscape passed by, beginning to enter an area that Izuku had little to no familiarity with. A special spot for training, my boy. I pulled a few strings and got us time at a private training facility where you can let loose and really see how you deal with one for all without worrying about anyone asking too many questions. Hee, being the #1 hero has its perks after all, All Might said, rubbing his nose smugly. Izuku nodded. I guess that does make sense. Wouldn't want random people to walk in on me using a quirk as powerful as yours. Correct. All Might exclaimed. Now I need you to reach in the glove box and put on the hat that's inside. Raising an eyebrow, Izuku slowly reached to open the glove box and pulled out what looked to be a burlap sack. All Might. Put on the bag, my boy. We are about to enter a super secret location that no one but myself and a few others know the details of. So please, the bag. Sighing to himself, Izuku complied and pulled the sack over his head. I hope someone sees us and thinks you're kidnapping me. What was that? Nothing. All right, here we are, my boy, behold. All Might, I still have the bag on, Izuku said with a deadpan tone. Oh, right, sorry. All Might pulled the burlap sack off of Izuku's head. Behold. Izuku looked around the large room All Might had brought him into, the younger of the two staring starry-eyed at the countless concrete pillars of various size littering the floor. Whoa. Izuku yelled with joy. You brought me to UA's Gym Gamma? BLRGHH. Blood shot out of All Might's mouth in shock. How did you know that? Izuku turned with a dead stare. Come on, it's me. You really think I wouldn't try and learn every possible thing that I could about the school I'd be training to be the greatest hero ever? Also, you lied when you said only a select few others knew about this so-called super secret location. Every student at UA has access to this place. All Might grinned sheepishly. Yeah, about that. My, you were not joking around when you told me that you found yourself quite the impressive young man under your wing, All Might. The two turned towards the source of the voice to see some white mouse thing. It was wearing a suit and had a scar running over its right eye. The creature walked up to Izuku and smiled up at him. Hello, young man. I am Principal Nizu. Am I a dog, a mouse, a bear? Who knows? Overcoming his initial shock, Izuku bowed in respect to the principal of UA. It's very nice to meet you, sir. After exchanging pleasantries, All Might led Izuku to the middle of the training grounds, before buffing up to his muscle form. Okay, young Midoriya, now that OFA has had the time to fester within you, we can finally begin your training. So, the basic premise of OFA is to act as a physical enhancer to your strength and speed. Let's just try it out and see how you feel, yes? Now, I want you to throw a punch at that pillar in front of you, and when you do, clench your butt cheeks and yell smash deep in your heart. Nodding in understanding, Izuku turned to the pillar and crouched slightly, pulling his arm back. Okay, clench butt cheeks and smash. Izuku focused as hard as he could in drawing the energy of OFA into his arm and felt an overwhelming warmth flooding his system as his arm began glowing bright orange with several red marks appearing up his forearm and bicep. Throwing his fist forward, Izuku put all he could into the swing, completely shattering the base of the pillar and causing the rest of it to tumble to the ground. Coming down from the adrenaline of his success, Izuku suddenly felt searing pain in his arm and looked down to see it hanging lifelessly by his side, completely red and mangled. Struggling to fight back tears, Izuku fell to his knees holding his floppy appendage as All Might, Principal Nizu, and a short, elderly woman in a nurse's outfit came to his side. Young Midoriya, are you all right? All Might helped Izuku to a sitting position, eyeing him worriedly. What the hell happened? Izuku said through labored breaths, still clutching his broken arm. My, what a mess you've gotten yourself into, young man. Let me fix that right up for you. The old lady kissed Izuku on the forehead, and before his very eyes, he saw his arm glowing bright green and felt it healing to be as good as new. He curled and uncurled his fist several times before looking up to his savior and gasping. Recovery girl, I'm such a big fan. Thank you for healing me. The old lady patted his head. No worries, sonny. Now please don't do that again. My quirk heals from your stamina, so I can only do that so much before you keel over like a sack of potatoes. And I know Toshi's secret, so don't worry about that. Toshi? Oh, she must mean All Might. Izuku nodded and turned to his teacher. What happened, All Might? I thought you said I was ready to handle OFA? All Might looked thoughtful for a few seconds. Well, my boy, you must remember that One for All is a stockpiling quirk that gains power each time it is passed down. You are the ninth carrier, so it stands to reason that the essence of One for All that you possess within you is much stronger than when I first inherited it. Add that to the fact that I was older and more physically gifted than you when I received it from my master, and I guess you could say it was just too much for you to handle. Seeing Izuku deflate and frown at the ground, All Might put a comforting hand on his shoulder. Don't get too down on yourself, my boy. It is clear that you can harness the oomph behind One for All. All we need to learn now is to control it. To demonstrate, All Might pulled a pair of tin cans out of somewhere and crushed them carefully in his hand, showing his finesse and fine-tuned control. Let me ask, what did it feel like when you were gathering OFA? Oh, you know how like when you have a really tasty burrito, and I'm not talking about lame-ass taco gong burritos. I'm talking like high-quality, warm tortilla, real meat, fresh veggies, the whole shebang. It felt like when you were too excited and take a really strong bite out of it, and everything just explodes out the other end and gets all over your new pants. All Might and Recovery Girl both face-faulted, while Nizu nodded his head in agreeance. I hate when that happens. All Might stood back up and shrugged with a smile. Not the analogy I would immediately think of, but sure kid, whatever works for you. Anyways, over the next 2.5 months, we are going to get you to take the tastiest first bite out of that burrito, and none of that delicious filling is going to fall out. And we are gonna integrate your other quirk and have a fabulous fiesta of heroic proportions. Now let's spar, young Midoriya. As mentor and student yelled in excitement and dove right into their training, Recovery Girl leaned over and whispered to Nizu, is it just me? Or are you also craving Mexican food now? Way ahead of you. Nizu said, phone already on his ear. Yes, hello lunch rush. Try it once more, my boy. Skinny All Might watched as Izuku got into the horse stance for about the 100th time that day and closed his eyes in concentration. A faint orange glow covered Izuku's right fist as he opened his eyes. Huh. Izuku thrusted a right jab, sending a small gust of wind forward and knocking over the cardboard villain cutout that was placed a few meters away as a target. Izuku pulled his fist back and stood straight up, panting. I did it. That you did. Your control is already jumping leaps and bounds. How much of OFA would you say you used just now? Izuku scrunched his lips and thought, maybe like 2 or 3%. Not bad for a full day's work, I'd say. I figured you would be moving relatively quickly, what with your years learning to control your animal quirk. Good work. All Might seemed to read Izuku's thoughts and put a hand up to stop him from talking. Don't worry, getting a good level of control is the most important point right now. We can worry about incorporating more and more power as your control increases. Now, back to training while I enjoy some delicious burritos. Ignoring Izuku's grumbling, All Might picked up one of Lunch Rush's famous bean burritos and chomped down. The other end burst open, and a generous blob of beans and cheese splattered all over All Might's lap. No. My control. Damn you and your analogy, young Midoriya. You're gonna have to do better than that, my boy. All Might taunted as Izuku barely ducked under a strike aimed for his head. He lunged back to a safe distance and held up his left hand. Delaware smash. Sending a shockwave with the flick of his finger, Izuku landed a hit directly at All Might, forcing the hulking man to shield his body with his forearms. Not missing a beat, Izuku surged one for all through his legs and closed the distance between them in a fraction of a second, stopping in front of All Might and charging up his fist. Detroit?
Smash.
All Might countered out of nowhere, catching Izuku squarely in the chest with a strong right and sending him careening backwards. The young man hit the ground with a loud thud, groaning in pain. All Might dusted himself off and reverted back to his skeleton form. Too slow, my boy. You are wasting precious time transitioning one for all from your legs to your arms. It might work most of the time against small-time criminals, but any experienced fighter will telegraph that in an instant and strike back before you even have the chance to react. Izuku slowly got up, clutching his chest. Damn it. He had been training with one for all for about 3 weeks, and while he had gotten his control up a considerable amount, he was not as adept at a complete fight with it as he wanted to be. There has got to be something I'm missing. Scratching his chin in deep thought, Izuku dug through every corner of his mind in order to find an answer to his problem. Activating one for all in one part of my body, and then switching to another takes way too long because I have to focus on the transition. And even if I only kept it in one part, I have to focus on limiting the power, or else I lose control and my limb breaks. Pinpointing on one specific part of my body takes way too much brain processing that I can't afford to waste in a fight with a capable opponent. Izuku's eyes widened in realization. That's it. Slightly bending his knees, Izuku clenched his fists and began flooding one for all throughout his body, causing green sparks to emanate from his person. The telltale red veins ran up and down him from head to toe, and he took on the orange glow that he had come to know whenever he activated his gifted quirk. Instead of putting one for all into one part of my body and having to focus on cutting it off there, I just let some of it flow throughout my entire body. Izuku whipped his arms back, letting green sparks shoot off of his body in the most epic of manners. One for all, full cowl. Off to the side, All Might smirked. Head. Didn't take him long to figure it out. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, he mumbled to himself, absolutely brimming with pride. He walked up to his orange glow stick of a student and gave him a wry grin. Nice look, kid. But can you move in that state? Through gritted teeth, Izuku nodded. I think so. Izuku took a few test trudges back and forth, trying to get the hang of feeling one for all coursing throughout his entire body. After a few minutes of testing out different movements, Izuku began limbering up and turned to All Might. I think I'm ready to go again. You up for it, old man? He gave his mentor a challenging grin. Oh ho ho, well aren't we getting a big head? Don't think just because you have, what, maybe 20% of one for all running through your body, you can handle me. Izuku responded with almost maniacal laughter. Ha! Joke's on you, All Might. You wish it was only 20%. I am running on 28%. That's 7% per limb. Buffing up and getting into a combat stance, All Might gestured for Izuku to come at him. Okay then, Mr. 28%, let's go. Make sure to study hard for final exams, everyone. Class dismissed. As the class began packing their things and chattering excitedly, Izuku remained seated in his desk, writing away furiously in his notebook. So there's 2 weeks left until the entrance exam. Full cowl is going well. We are supposed to start trying to integrate Onimorph this week, so there's that to look forward to. I already finished studying for finals, and UA entrance exam material I need to go over a few more times just to make sure I have everything down. He was stopped from his rambling by Katsuki, who had slammed a hand onto Izuku's desk. Deku, for God's sake, shut the hell up. Anyway, get your shit together. We're going to the mall. Izuku narrowed his eyes at his best friend. Why? What the hell do you mean, why? You fuck? 'Cause I gotta buy shit. Still not convinced, Izuku stared at Katsuki with his eyebrows raised. So you're telling me that it has absolutely nothing to do with the girls you saved a while back who have not left you alone since, and your mom found out and gets mad at you anytime you try and tell them off? And you aren't telling me to come because they are taking you to the mall, and you don't want to be there with them by yourself? Katsuki and Izuku stared at each other for a few seconds. Fuck you. Cringing at the trio female voices calling Katsuki-kun. Bakugo picked up his bag. You comin'? Or what? Chuckling to himself, Izuku quickly packed his things. Yeah, I'm coming. I would really hate to take another precious second away from you to spend time with your girlfriends. Izuku immediately ducked under an angry swing and made a mad dash for the door. Kakin! Mercy! Get back here, nerd. Walking home from the mall after dropping the girls off like the gentlemen they were, Bakugo's mom made them do it. The two boys decided to stop by a ramen bar they frequented many times growing up. So, Deku, Katsuki said in between bites, you gonna tell me about that special training you've been doing, or what? Izuku froze, ramen hanging from his chopsticks a few inches from his mouth. He calmly lowered his chopsticks back into his bowl and looked towards his best friend out of the corner of his eye. I thought I said I wanted it to be a surprise. What's the big deal, you shitbag? Just tell me, not like whatever you're doing is gonna make you stronger than me. Anyway, Izuku sighed, Kakin, you know I've been relying on you since we were kids. I want to do this and prove that I can get stronger without you. We always get lumped together, and you'll always be my best friend. But I need to show that I'm strong too. That we're equals. Izuku frowned at his now lukewarm bowl of noodles. I'm sorry, Kakin. I want to tell you, but I promised All Might. What I said isn't untrue, so I guess I'm not technically lying. Katsuki stared at Izuku for a few seconds, in an almost scrutinizing manner, before abruptly turning back to his own meal. TCH, whatever. Keep your shitty secrets. But you better get second in the entrance exams then, you fucking nerd, he exclaimed before slurping up the rest of his food. Izuku amusedly shook his head at Kakin's unique way of showing that he cared. You want anything else before we go? Katsuki slammed his fist down on the table. Don't rush me, dickface. Oi, old man. Gimme another plate of takoyaki. Extra spicy. He yelled to the chef behind the counter. Katsuki turned back to Izuku and slapped his wallet out of his hand. Fuck you. You're not paying for shit. Don't look down on me, nerd. Yup. Real, unique. Izuku took a deep breath, letting the long intake of oxygen calm his system as he tried to focus as best he could. He could do this. He had made so much progress in learning to properly use One for All. This was just another step along the way. He could do this. All Might Recovery Girl stood by in wait, interested to see whether or not the green-haired teen could really pull it off. Remember, young Midoriya, the best place to start is with what you're most comfortable and familiar with. We can start there and see where to go after that. Nodding in response, Izuku shed his workout clothes, leaving only his special morph suit, patent pending, on, rolled down to his waist, exposing his chiseled frame to the cool air in the gymnasium. Okay, here we go. One for All, full cowl. The orange glow of the legendary quirk overtook his body, and Izuku took another deep breath, ready to take his skill set to the next level. Izuku then tried to incorporate his own quirk into the equation, going with the transformation that he was most accustomed to, the gorilla. What the? The boy felt something off, however, and before he knew it, he was transforming wildly and out of control. All. Panda. Might. Eagle. Help. Rabbit. Me. Iguana. The two adults watched in confusion/concern as Izuku writhed on the ground, rapidly transforming back and forth between his base human form and various animals. Young Midoriya. All Might rushed to Izuku's side. Take it easy, my boy. Not knowing what else to do, All Might buffed up and trained to restrain the out-of-control teen, finding it increasingly difficult as his size/shape kept changing. After a few minutes, Izuku finally ran out of stamina and went limp in All Might's arms. Recovery Girl came to check on him, as both she and All Might had worried expressions on their faces. My goodness, what happened to the poor boy, All Might? Recovery Girl said as she checked Izuku over for any injuries. I am not sure. All Might replied, still recovering from what he had just witnessed. I suppose One for All and young Midoriya's Onimorph are combating within him, and he has yet learned to let them function simultaneously. I never had this problem, because well, you know, but I maybe remember Master talking about her initial struggles with One for All and its synergy with her original quirk. And how did she get over said struggles? All Might frowned as he peered down at Izuku's sleeping face, a lot of trial and error. The youthful heroine pinched the bridge of her nose. That's not entirely reassuring, you know, and I'm not even the one that is going to have to go through it. She sighed tiredly. Just bring him to the infirmary and we will deal it once he wakes up. Nodding, All Might hoisted the unconscious boy over his shoulders, and they made their way over to the main school building. Izuku's eyes slowly fluttered open, only for him to squint at the bright sunlight shining in through a window on the wall facing him. Sitting up in the bed he was somehow laying in, he saw Skeleton Might sitting in a chair next to his bed, reading the newspaper. Hey All Might, where are we? Ah, glad to see you're awake, my boy. He folded the newsprint closed and tucked it under his arm. We are in the UA infirmary. Do you remember what happened before you passed out? Izuku crossed his arms and furrowed his brow in thought. We were in Gym Gamma. I was trying to use full cowl and Animorph at the same time. I felt really weird, and then everything went black after that. Yes, you lost control of your transformation and began changing wildly. My guess would be that One for All is still a relatively new entity in your body compared to your natural quirk, so it was difficult for the two to be in harmony and completely under your control. Taking in this new information, Izuku nodded slowly. So, what should I do? I can't give you all the answers, young man. This is something that is specific to you and your quirks. At the end of the day, only you can figure it out. I want to help you grow into a strong hero, my boy. You'll never get there if I tell you everything every step of the way. This is as much of a test for you as it is for me. Izuku swung his legs over the bed and slowly got to his feet. Flexing his limbs, he nodded to himself. I feel pretty good. Let's get back. I have a lot of work to do. All Might smiled widely. After you, young Midoriya. Stepping back into Gym Gamma, Izuku froze in his tracks when his eyes landed on the new person in the room, standing next to Principal Nizu. Glad to see that you're already up and about again. I heard what happened earlier and decided to enlist in the help of one of our faculty members to control the situation in case your quirk gets out of hand again. Izuku gulped as Nizu gestured to the pro hero standing next to him. Why you're... That's right, young man. Midoriya Izuku, please meet current UA teacher and pro hero. Midnight, said woman exclaimed, chuckling sheepishly at Nizu. She clasped her hands together, handcuffs rattling on her wrists at the motion. Sorry, I just got a little excited. She turned to Izuku and licked her lips provocatively. Now, aren't you a little cutie pie? It's very nice to meet you, Midoriya-kun. I hope you'll be a good boy and won't cause me too much trouble. Though, that might just turn me on. Izuku shivered in fear and backed up a few paces, only to have Midnight's whip inches from his face. Now, don't be scared, young man. I'm here to help. She gave him a reassuring grin, pulled her weapon away, resting her hands on her hips. I'm honestly interested to see this animal quirk in action, so I'll let you get started. And don't worry, anything goes wrong, I'll come calm you down using my quirk. Think of me as a sort of ultra-beautiful, sexy, youthful, angelic zookeeper with the best tranquilizer on the market. Swaying her hips as she walked over to the side of the room to take a seat in the comfy recliner she had brought in. What? Just because she was on duty didn't mean that she wasn't allowed to do it in luxury. She giggled to herself as she heard Izuku's flustered stammering. Man, I love my job. Finally recovering from Midnight and her provocations, Izuku readied himself to attempt to integrate his two quirks once more. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. Izuku repeated his mantra over and over in his head. He activated full cowl and spread his legs shoulder-width apart. Okay, and transform. Gorilla Izuku was visibly straining, barely able to move before he morphed back to normal, panting heavily. Shaking it off, he tried once more, now opting for a different animal in his repertoire. Cheetah Izuku encountered the same issue, barely able to move before Izuku had to transform back, looking much more drained than before. Damn it! Izuku racked his brain, trying to find the solution to his pressing issue. Not wanting to give up, Izuku kept at it, trying any animal that he could think of while keeping full cowl activated. I need to do this. I've come this far. I can't let this hold me down. One for All and Animorph. Control them both. They're both yours to wield. Young Midoriya, don't overexert yourself. All Might came up to the panting boy, only to be met with a defiant stare. No, All Might. I can do this. I have to. The glow around Izuku intensified as dust around him began to whip up into the air. The green sparks coming off of him shot around sporadically before he was enveloped in a shining white light. All Might had to cover his eyes to shield them from the bright light emanating from his pupil as Midnight rushed to his side. What the hell is happening to him, All Might? Midnight was about to pull her sleeve down to activate her quirk and stop Izuku from getting any more out of control, but a firm hand of All Might's kept her from doing it. Wait, Kayama-san. Look. They both turned their attentions to Izuku, and their response was identical. Holy shit. Anybody that's ever been in school at some point is well aware of the absolute nerve-wracked mess that students can become anytime an assessment or examination of some sort comes around. You worry that you're forgetting something, or that you're going to be late, or literally anything else that could possibly go wrong will go wrong. Now, of course, that's not taking examinations for adolescents with superpowers aiming to become professional heroes into account. I'm freaking out. But from a logical standpoint, those types of examinations would probably be even more nerve-wracking. The time had finally come. It was the morning of UA's annual entrance exam. Izuku rocked back and forth in his seat at the table in his kitchen, scarfing a bowl of katsudon down his gullet, somehow screaming in absolute angst as he ate. His mother sat across from him, trying her best to calm him down, but to little avail. "Honey, you just need to relax, okay? Everything is going to be fine." Not getting a response from her son, she resorted to unorthodox methods in order to get his attention. Using her quirk, Inko attracted a phone book from across the room, directly behind Izuku's head. The book connected with a thud and managed to snap him out of his anxiety attack. Wa. Inko got out of her seat and crouched by Izuku's side, planting her hands firmly on his shoulders. "Sweetie, just take slow breaths. I need you to listen to me, okay?" Getting a shaky nod from her precious son, she continued, gently caressing his cheek. "I know you're nervous. It is a big day after all. But you've worked so hard to come this far. I just know that you're going to do great. This is just another step for you. You're strong, smart, and there is no one I can think of that deserves this more than you." Pressing her forehead gently against Izuku's, she closed her eyes and smiled. "Go show them what you're made of, okay?" Izuku sniffled and wiped a few tears rolling down his cheeks. He nodded and embraced his mother tightly, feeling all the tension washing away as she rubbed his back affectionately. Gathering his things, he hugged her once more for good luck and quickly made his way out the door. He had an exam to get to, after all. Despite the fact that Izuku had been to UA's grounds many times over the past few weeks, he still found himself astounded staring up at the humongous building where the exam orientation was being held. Some other examinees gave him odd looks as they walked by him, but he paid them no mind. He closed his eyes and took several deep breaths, making sure he remained calm for what was to come. "Okay, I got this." He didn't got this. The first step he took, his back foot caught on his front, causing him to trip and fall face first towards the ground. "Or I'll just fall and hit my face on the pavement. This is it, isn't it? This is where it all ends. I'm sorry, All Might. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Lord Helix, huh?" Izuku opened his eyes in surprise to see that he was no longer falling towards the ground and was just floating there. "Sorry, I used my quirk on you without asking. I just didn't want you to fall. It would be bad luck to trip and fall right before the exam." Izuku turned his head to see a girl standing next to him, large brown eyes looking into his own, a friendly grin on her face, accentuated by 2 permanent blush marks on her cheeks. "Oh, sorry, I should let you down." She scratched the back of her chocolate brown hair and pressed the tips of her fingers together. "Release." She straightened Izuku out and stepped back to give him another smile. "There you go." Izuku couldn't help but be affected by her infectious personality and soon found himself grinning as well. "Thanks a lot. You really saved my ass there, huh? Your quirk is pretty interesting. Do you mind if I ask what it is?" "Oh, sure. I don't mind at all. I'm Uraraka Ochako, by the way. And you are?" Ochako's sweat dropped when she saw that Izuku had pulled a notebook and was writing something in it. How did he do that so fast without me even seeing? "It's very nice to meet you, Uraraka-san. My name's Deku." The teens turned to see Bakugo scowling at them as he walked up in their direction, hands dug into his pockets. "Oh hey, Kaken. How's it going?" "Shut the fuck up. Don't give me none of that shit. What the hell are you doing standing out here talking to some chick? You trying to fuck yourself up for the exam, or what?" "Come on, Kaken. We were just having a friendly conversation. She saved me from falling and I was thanking her." Katsuki shifted his piercing gaze over to Ochako, who squirmed uncomfortably and kissed his teeth. "Whatever. You should have let the damn nerd fall and break his dumb fucking face. Just hurry up and finish talking to your girlfriend. I'll see you inside." With that, Katsuki brushed past them and made his way into the building. Ochako and Izuku watched Katsuki as he walked away. What was that all about?" "Oh, that was my best friend. He's here taking the exam too." Uraraka looked at him in disbelief. "You guys are best friends?" Izuku chuckled lightly. "Yeah, I get that a lot. Kaken is a bit on the abrasive side, but he's a good guy, trust me." He pulled his sleeve down and checked the time on his watch. "Oh, we better get inside. Don't want to be late and get locked out or penalized or something." Ochako nodded in agreement, and the 2 aspiring heroes briskly made their way inside. "Thank you very much." Bidding farewell to the service attendant, Izuku made his way towards the auditorium, scanning his examinee identification card over once more to make sure he was headed towards the correct seat. Combing up the aisles, he found his assigned seat and scooted his way past the other examinees and sat down, seeing Katsuki already there. "About time you showed up, nerd." Katsuki mumbled through the hand he was resting his chin on. That written exam was such a waste of fucking time. Izuku shrugged his shoulders. "Well, they have to weed people out in as many ways as they can, I guess. But you're right, it was pretty easy." I think I finished it in about 45 minutes. TCH, get your shit together, Deku. I finished it easily in 35. Maybe if you weren't flirting with that round-faced chick, you would have been more focused. You gotta lighten up a bit, Kakin. I told you already, I was thanking her for helping me, that's all. You really gotta get over your vendetta with girls, dude. You're gonna wind up dying alone with no one to hold you at night if you're not careful. Fuck you, Deku. Just because you want to waste your time around with distractions doesn't mean I'm going to. And don't act like you got any girls after you or anything like that either. Katsuki's voice went quiet as he saw the nervous look pass over Izuku's face for a brief second. You don't have any girl after you, right? Suddenly finding part of the ceiling very interesting, Izuku exclaimed when the lights went dim and a spotlight shone down on the podium on the stage below them. Oh look, it's starting. Whoa, it's present mic. Cool. Izuku's eyes glimmered with excitement at seeing the pro hero about to give the introduction for the next segment of their exam. Hello there, all you listeners. We are just about to get started. But first, can I get a YAH? Present Mike chuckled nervously at the complete silence resonating throughout the room. Ahem? Hee hee, tough crowd. I'm sure you're all just nervous and want to keep it mellow. Anyway, let's talk about how this practical exam is going to go. The blonde pro hero clicked towards the giant screen behind him with his controller, showing a blueprint of several artificially constructed city blocks. As you know, you rockin' young folks are gonna complete 10-minute-long mock battles in these kick-ass urban settings. After I'm done dropping all this hot knowledge, you're all gonna go to your specified battlegrounds listed on your examinee ID card. Yeah. Guess they want to separate people in the same school so we don't help each other, Izuku muttered, looking over at Katsuki's card indicating that his was in Ground A instead of Ground B like him. Yeah, they probably want to maximize the chance to see what each person can do on their own in a foreign environment. TCH, you better not fuck up without me there, Deku. Izuku turned to his friend with a slight grin. Don't worry about me, Kakin. I'm ready for this. Alright. Present Mike resumed. Let's take a look at the unlucky targets that you will be combating today. The screen changed to show silhouettes of 3 different robo-villains, each with different numbers over them. There are 3 different types of villain, increasing in point value as they increase in difficulty. The goal of this test is to see just how you can use your quirks to show these robo-villains who's boss. But make sure you're keeping things clean. Attacking other examinees is a big-time no-no. You catch my drift, party people? Suddenly, an examinee shot up from their seat. Excuse me, sir, but I have a question that requires immediate attention regarding this examination. Hit me with the good stuff, my man. A spotlight shined down on the examinee, and he held up the information sheet that was given to everyone that was taking the exam. According to this supposedly official printout provided to each and every examinee regarding the practical assessment, there should be 4 villains that can appear, not 3. Are you meaning to tell me that a prestigious institution such as UA is distributing false information to its potential students? The boy pushed his glasses up and suddenly turned to Izuku and Katsuki with a glare. And you too with the unkempt hairstyles. You have been causing a disruption to this vital information session with your incessant chatter. If you two can't bother to take an occasion like this seriously, then leave. You're distracting the rest of us who are actually trying to become respectable heroes. Katsuki bared his teeth in anger. The fuck did you say? For eyes? How about you come up here and say that to my face? As angry as he was himself, Izuku still managed to hold Katsuki from jumping down to the other teen's seat. Kakin, take it easy. You're gonna get disqualified this way. Forget about him. Katsuki ultimately relented and sat back down. Fucking asshole is lucky I don't blow his stupid face up right now. Izuku made eye contact with the blue-haired teen once more, returning his unapproving stare with full force before Present Mike spoke up. Alright, calm down everyone. Now, good question. Examinee 7111. Thanks for calling in. The 4th villain type is worth a whopping 0 points, so think of it more as an obstacle than a villain to face. It's not that it's impossible to beat, but there is really no point. There's one in every battle center. Try to avoid it if you can, okay? The blue-haired teen bowed, almost headbutting his desk. Thank you very much. Please continue. Present Mike threw his arms out in a grandiose fashion. Well, that's all I got, folks. I'll be signing off with some departing words, a sample of our school motto. As the great Napoleon Bonaparte once laid down, a true hero is one who overcomes life's misfortunes. Oh yeah, now that's a tasty soundbite. Now, Present Mike said, giving the crowd a smirk, are you ready to go beyond, plus ultra? Battle Center B. Stepping off of the bus that brought all the examinees to the battlegrounds, Izuku found himself a spot near the large entrance gates to mentally prepare himself. He idly pulled at the sleeves of his bodysuit as he stared up at the giant doors leading to the battle site. Phew, This is it. Time to put all my training to the test. Once those doors open, there's no looking back. Taking a second to look around, Izuku caught sight of a familiar brown head of hair. Oh, it's Uraraka-san. I should go thank her again and wish her luck. Izuku began walking in her direction, but a firm grip on his shoulder kept him from moving any further. He turned around to see the tall, blue-haired guy who called him out during the information session, glaring at him disapprovingly. Izuku narrowed his eyes at the teen. You need something? That girl over there looks like she's trying to focus on what's to come. What are you trying to do? Distract her and hurt her chances at success in the examination? Izuku frowned and brushed the hand off of his shoulder. Have we met? No, we haven't. Then don't try and act like you know everything about me. With that, Izuku walked off, leaving the bespectacled teen to stare askance at his back. Hey, Uraraka-san, Izuku called, walking up to the girl. She turned and gave him a small wave. Oh hey, nice suit. She gave an approving thumbs up to the freckled teen. Man, I'm feeling kinda nervous for this battle test. I thought I did pretty good on the written exam, but this is something totally different. Ochako patted her chest to try and calm her rapid heartbeat. Nah, I'm sure you're gonna do just fine. I can tell. Izuku reassured her with a smile. Returning the grin, Ochako breathed out slowly. Thanks. I appreciate the faith. What about you, Deku-kun? You seem pretty cool and collected about it. Well, Izuku stopped mid-sentence when he realized what Ochako had called him. Wait, where did you hear that name? Ochako looked at him confusedly. That's what your friend Kaken called you. Deku, right? Ah, I see. Izuku nodded in understanding. Those are nicknames we have had for each other since we were little kids. My actual name is Midoriya Izuku. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I kind of like the sound of Deku. It sounds sort of like Dikairu, and it's saying like, I never give up. Ochako said, pumping her fist in the air. Izuku's face fell into a soft grin. You know what? I kinda like that. Call me Deku if you like. Uraraka-san. Ochako cheered and leaned forward with her fists balled in front of her. Okay, let's both do our best and pass the exam. Deku-kun. All right, let's start. Everyone looked up towards the tower on the corner of the wall surrounding the site, where Present Mic was positioned. What are you all standing around for, huh? There are no countdowns in real battles. Let's rock and roll. The large gates swung open, and instinctively, Izuku dashed ahead and made his way into the site, not even sparing a glance to anyone else behind him. He has the right idea. Present Mic yelled, swinging his arm in a circular motion. Yeah. As soon as Izuku made it a block into the battle site, he smiled to himself. Man, am I pumped. Quickly morphing into a rhinoceros, Izuku plowed through a group of one-pointers and skidded to a stop behind the wreckage as he went human again. I guess there's no reason to hold back here. Gotta make the most of my lead while I got it. Izuku exhaled and closed his eyes. No, All Might. I can do this. I have to. The glow around Izuku intensified as dust around him began to whip up into the air. The green sparks coming off of him shot around sporadically before he was enveloped in a shining white light. All Might had to cover his eyes to shield them from the bright light emanating from his pupil as Midnight rushed to his side. What the hell is happening to him, All Might? Midnight was about to pull her sleeve down to activate her quirk and stop Izuku from getting any more out of control, but a firm hand of All Might's kept her from doing it. Wait, Kayama-san. Look. They both turned their attentions to Izuku, and their response was identical. Holy shit. After the bright light faded, the two pro-heroes found themselves face to face with Izuku in the form of a grizzly bear, green fur tinted with full cowl's orange glow, and the signature green sparks shooting off his body every few moments. Somehow, this form of Izuku managed to convey what looked like a proud smirk as it took a few steps forward. As he moved, he tried a multitude of animals, all much more powerful than he could ever remember them being. All Might couldn't believe his eyes. The raw power that young Midoriya is giving off is incredible. It's almost as if his animal forms are more physically gifted and fit than they were before. I can't believe you managed to sink one for all with your being. I'm so proud, my boy. The results of my training. I'm going to show exactly what I'm capable of. Activating full cowl, Izuku cracked his neck and put on a smirk that Katsuki would be proud to see. Now let's have some fun. The rest of the examinees who had finally caught up stared slack-jawed at the glowing orange panther speeding away into the heart of the city, leaving cracks in the ground where it trod. Battle Center A. Die. Katsuki let off a massive explosion between his palms, blowing the entire top half off of a three-pointer as the rest of it crashed into the ground. Katsuki landed nimbly and cracked his knuckles. Haha. That's 73 fucking points. Out of the corner of his eye, Katsuki saw a three-pointer come zooming out of an alley and try to blindside him. Nice try, fucker. Katsuki spun around on his heel, palms sparking and ready to strike. But before he could make contact with it, a giant hand came flying in and smashed the robot into the ground. Katsuki followed the hand to its owner and saw some chick with an orange ponytail running down the side of her headland in front of him. "Are you all right?" she asked, shrinking her giant fist back to normal size. "Heh? What the fuck are you doing stealing my points, you fat hand bitch?" Katsuki yelled. The girl looked disbelieved. "I just helped you, and you thank me by insulting me? What's your problem?" "You're my fucking problem." Katsuki pointed an accusing finger at the girl. "I didn't need your shitty help. Now stay out of my way." He spat at her feet before launching himself off to find more robots to destroy. The girl stood there, scowling at Katsuki. "What an asshole. Whatever. I don't have time for this. I need to keep getting points." She ran down the street, only to be cut off by a group of 4 three-pointers and quickly found herself surrounded. She turned to and fro, trying to make sure none of them attacked her blind spot while she formulated a plan. One of them managed to catch her off guard and smack her across the back, sending her flying across the street. The orange jet gripped her side in pain as she slowly pulled herself up. Ow wow. She heard the rumbling of the robots coming towards her, but she could hardly move due to the impact she just felt. "Eat shit, metal bastards." Her head shot up to see Katsuki rocketing down from the sky, impacting one of the three-pointers on the back with a powerful blast, before he propelled himself through the air, literally blowing through the other 3 giant machines. He leaped down to the ground and landed nimbly in front of the girl he just saved. "I guess you're gonna come rub it in my face that you got those points, huh?" He glowered at her for a few seconds before pulling her up and throwing her arm over his shoulder. What are you doing? You got beat the fuck up. I'm saving you. I didn't ask for your help before, so we're fucking even now. Got it?" Katsuki said, keeping his eyes forward as he helped take the girl to safety. "Thanks," she said quietly. "Whatever. I'm Kendo Itsuka, by the way." She shifted slightly to support more of her own weight. "I think I can walk by myself." Katsuki said nothing, but he did not let go of her or stop walking. "Did you hear what I said?" "I'm fine." Kendo began squirming in Katsuki's grasp, causing him to growl in frustration. "Shut up and stop moving. I'm already carrying your sorry ass. Just take it." Kendo pouted, but refrained from fighting anymore. Battle Center B. Who? Izuku was having the time of his life. He forgot just how fun it was to let loose and use his quirk, and now that he could add one for all into the equation, it made it that much more awesome. Leaping off the top of a building, Izuku swan dived towards a pack of robots, morphing into an African bush elephant and body, slamming down on an unsuspecting two-pointer. He was amazed by just how much more power was packed into his animal forms now that he could use full cowl at the same time. As Kaken would say, it was fucking badass. Swinging his glowing trunk from side to side, Izuku easily smashed away 2 more two-pointers, bringing his total score up to 49. He turned back to normal and looked around at all of the wreckage left by all of the examinees. I wonder if there are any robots left? UA monitor room. The camera panned out to show the street Izuku was on, next to countless other screens showing live footage of other examinees throughout the battle sites. Rows of examiners were scribbling away at what they were observing. Obviously, none of the examinees know how many villains are present, or where they might be at any given moment. That sense of mystery drives a sense of urgency into their beings. The pale light from the display shined eerily on Principal Nizu's face. I'd say this year's batch of potential candidates is quite promising," one of the examiners observed. Nizu chuckled to himself. "Well, there is still some time before it's over. Let's give them the real test, shall we?" A panel opened up on the dashboard under the monitor to reveal a large red button reading, "Big ASS Robot Release Switch." Nizu pushed the button. "Let's see how they react." Battle Site B. The ground began rumbling violently as giant clouds of dirt were thrown up into the air. All of the examinees stopped and turned to see a massive shadow looming over even the tallest buildings in the site. Holy shit, it's the zero-pointer. Are they insane? That thing is huge. As the massive mechanical villain menacingly trod through the street, its sheer size caused surrounding windows to shatter, and it felt like the very earth was shifting as it moved. Izuku caught up to the large crowd that had formed once the zero-pointer was released. Staring up at the metal monstrosity, everyone there had the same thought reach their minds. Run. Dozens of feet rapidly pounded on the pavement just as the giant villain reached down with its giant hand and reduced an adjacent building to a heap of rubble. Izuku transformed into a cheetah and was about to make a break for it himself, but his ultra-sensitive feline ears picked up the faintest of cries amidst all of the chaos. "Oh wow." Izuku whipped his head towards the source of the sound, and his eyes widened when he saw Ochako sprawled out on the ground, her leg seemingly trapped under a large piece of debris. Uraraka-san. Before he could even tell his body to move, Izuku was zooming towards his fallen friend as fast as he could, passing by and confusing many other examinees that were running away from the zero-pointer. He stopped before her and went gorilla to fling the piece of debris off of her before turning back to normal. "Are you alright?" "Deku-kun. My ankle. I don't think I can walk." Izuku looked back up at the zero-pointer, which was coming closer and closer. "Uraraka-san, I'm gonna help you get to safety, okay?" Ochako nodded. "Thanks. We probably still have time to run away if we hurry." Izuku laughed out loud. "Hell no, we are beating that thing." Seeing Ochako's stunned face, he gave her a thumbs up. "Trust me, I know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna need just a tad bit of help, okay? So here's what we are gonna do." UA monitor room. Everyone stared fascinatingly at the scene unfolding before their very eyes, as Izuku put his plan into motion. There are no combat rewarded for defeating the humongous villain, but there is opportunity. The screen zoomed in on Izuku in his gorilla form, carrying Ochako on his back as he rapidly scaled the side of the tallest building right next to the zero-pointer. Reaching the top, Gorilla Izuku leaped off of the roof, sailing through the air towards the head of the massive villain. "A chance to shine, to show us what you're really made of. Show who you are, embody what it truly means to be a hero. There is nothing nobler than giving your all to protect those in need." Battle Site B. As Ochako and Izuku sailed through the air towards the zero-pointer, the brunette girl breathed deeply to calm herself. "Okay, I can do this. Deku-kun can do this. Just follow the plan." "So here's what we are gonna do." Izuku began. "I'm gonna carry you on my back in gorilla mode and scale the building right here. Once I get to the top, I'm gonna jump towards the zero-pointer, and I want you to use your quirk on me so I can maximize my air time. Right before we make it within range of that thing, you release your quirk and I will be in position to finish it off. But the thing is, I can't talk when I'm in my animal forms, so I will need your help with something on that front, okay?" The pair flew within striking range. Ochako pressed her fingertips together. Release. Feeling slightly nauseous from using her quirk, Ochako did her best to shake the feeling and hold on tight as Izuku prepared to destroy the zero-pointer. Izuku began rapidly swinging his right arm backwards in a circular motion, feeling the power of one for all coursing through his arm as he charged up. Counting 11 spins in her head, Ochako readied herself for Izuku's attack, simultaneously in awe of his glowing and crackling right arm. Izuku cocked his fist back, and Ochako took the deepest breath she could. Every awesome move has to have its name called out, or else it really isn't a special move. Since I can't yell it, I want you to yell it when I do. Clench your butt cheeks and yell deep from within your heart. Congo Smosh. Izuku's large fist flung forward and impacted the zero-pointer with an earth-shattering crash, sending the Goliath reeling backwards with a sedan-sized crater in the middle of its face. The explosion that the strike had caused multiplied down the robot's body, causing it to collapse in heaps to the ground below. Ochako and Izuku bulleted towards the ground at breakneck speed, stopping just before they became a splat on the pavement thanks to Ochako's quirk. She released it, allowing them to touch down, before she hunched over with a sickly green face. "Bleghai." Izuku rubbed Ochako's back comfortingly, trying to help alleviate her motion sickness. He completely ignored the many bewildered stares he was receiving from the other examinees, only looking up when he heard the siren sounding off to signal that the examination was over. "Very nice, good work all around, you young whippersnappers. You're heroes in my eyes, every one of you." Recovery Girl said as she hobbled through the crowd. "Here's some gummies, don't be shy." She pulled the candies out of her pockets and handed them out to whomever she passed by. Yes, don't eat them all at once, okay?" She made her way up to Izuku and Ochako and smiled knowingly at the boy. "You look like you could use some help, sonny." Izuku chuckled as he looked down at his slightly burned arm. "Let me take care of that for you." Recovery Girl smooched Izuku on his head, causing the teen to sigh in relief as the pain washed away from his body. She turned to Ochako, who had suppressed her motion sickness. "Oh dearie, your ankle looks pretty banged up there." Recovery Girl extended her lips and used her quirk on the injured girl, watching her ankle reset itself under the green glow of the healing factor. Ochako stood up and tested her ankle. "Wow, it feels as good as new. Thank you so much." Yes, that's quite all right, dearie." Recovery Girl waved her off with a swing of her cane. "Now if you're all not injured, go home. We gotta clean up this place now, you know? You were so cool, Deku-kun. You were like punch, punch, punch. Smash, smash, smash. And it was so cool getting to yell out your special move. We gotta do that again. Izuku laughed at Ochako's excitement as they made their way outside. Yeah, it was really cool. We make a pretty good team, Izuku said, scratching the back of his neck. Ochako nodded happily. Totally. Izuku turned in confusion when he noticed Ochako had stopped walking. Hey Deku, let's play a game. All right? On the count of 3, name your favorite dinosaur. Don't even think about it. Just name it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Velociraptor. /Velociraptor. Visibly impressed, Izuku posed his own question. Favorite song to have a dance party to. Every Time We Touch by Cascada. / Every Time We Touch by Cascada. If you were an egg, how would you want to be cooked? Scrambled with cheese. / Scrambled with cheese. What? Ochako exclaimed. Did we just become best friend? Yup. The two high-fived, then immediately broke out into uncontrollable laughter. Fuck off. Their laughter ceased as they heard Katsuki yell his profanity and turned to see him stomping in their direction with his hands in his pockets, being followed by some orange-haired girl neither of them had ever seen before. Oh, hey Kaken, how did the exam go for you? Shut up, Deku. Let's get out of here. This damn chick won't stop following me. He stuck his thumb behind him towards Kendo, who was glaring at the fuming teen with her arms crossed. This damn chick has a name, you dick. I already told you I don't care what your fucking name is. Thoroughly confused, Izuku thought it was as good of a time as any to find out what the hell was going on. Kaken. Who is this? Before Katsuki could reply, Kendo butted past him. Kendo Itsuka. Nice to meet you. She shook Izuku's hand, pouting at Katsuki the entire time. Nice to meet you too, Kendo-san. I'm Midoriya Izuku, and this is my friend Uraraka Ochako, he said, pointing to the brunette by his side, who then waved to the other girl. Heh? Roundface? What the fuck are you doing here? Kaken, I literally just said what her name was. Izuku rubbed the bridge of his nose. Well anyway, how do you know Kaken, Kendo-san? Oh, so Kaken is your name. Was that so hard to tell me? Katsuki stuck a finger in Kendo's face. Fuck you. Fat hands. You don't get to call me that. Ochako burst out laughing at the scene. You guys are so funny. Izuku stepped in between the two arguing teens. Okay, that was my fault. Kendo-san, this is Bakugo Katsuki. Now please tell me, how is it that you two know each other? We helped each other in the exam. Fuck you. You didn't help me. You stole my points. Katsuki growled. Izuku sighed wearily. Okay, this is going to go on for a while. Kaken, you want to go get ramen at the spot? Getting a grunt of approval from his oldest friend, he turned to the two females. You guys want to come? Sure. Okay, beamed. We can talk about how the exam went and stuff. Deku, you fuck. Don't invite fat hands. Kendo smirked smugly at Katsuki. I would love to come, Midoriya. Alright, so that's that. I'm starving. Izuku and his two new friends began to walk away, leaving Katsuki to stay rooted in place, grinding his teeth in anger. Fuck you guys, he yelled before quickly walking after them. There is a world-famous saying that many people try and live by. Patience is a virtue. Now, this proverbial phrase was one that Izuku was very familiar with. His mother had never had problems with him being overly restless as a child, and oftentimes Izuku found that he could wait patiently for things very easily. Oddly enough, waiting on his acceptance letter from UA was not something he found that he could be patient about. It also did not help to Izuku's peace of mind that he hadn't been able to contact All Might since the day of the exam. Izuku was sitting on the sofa in his living room, idly flipping through the channels as his mind was preoccupied with thoughts regarding his acceptance into his dream hero school. Nozomi laid next to him, curled up and enjoying the warmth of the blanket draped over her. Man, you're so lucky. You don't have to worry about anything, do you, girl? He sighed, scratching her behind the ear. He turned towards the front door and stared at it wistfully, trying to mentally will the mailman to come and slide his acceptance letter through the mail slot. Grabbing his phone from the coffee table, he leaned back in his chair and began typing out a message. Super duper hero friends group chat. Izuku. Hey you guys, did anyone get their UA acceptance letters yet? Katsuki, fuck you Dek. Why are you messaging me so late? I'm trying to sleep. Itsuka, straight face. Bakugo, it's like 8:43 p.m. Katsuki, fuck you fat hands, I want to sleep. Ochako, I haven't gotten my letter yet either. It's been a week already. Wonder what they're taking so long for? Itsuka, yeah me either. They will probably come soon. Just be patient. Izuku, easy for you to say. I'm going crazy over here. Well, when you guys get yours, tell me. Ochako will do. Deku. Itsuka, yeah, no problem. Though, old man Bakugo will probably be long asleep if it comes today lol. Katsuki, you're asking to die. You orange-headed fuck. Ochako, PFFFDLMAO. Izuku, honey. Dinner's ready. Izuku shook his head amusedly and pocketed his phone and stood up, stretching his compressed limbs after sitting for so long. Yue could wait till dinner was done, at the very least. Holy cow, am I full? Izuku collapsed onto his bed, holding his distended belly, groaning as the full force of his meal began to kick in. Nozomi hopped up on the bed and laid down next to him, tongue hanging out in a satisfied manner. Oh girl, don't I know it? Mom makes the best ribeye. I'm pretty sure I ate like 45 pounds of food. The food coma is setting in. Just as Izuku felt his eyes begin to droop and fatigue begin to take over, he heard a furious rapping on his door. Looking up startledly, Izuku saw the door swing up to reveal his mother crawling on the floor towards him.
Delks.
She held out her hand, and in it was a white envelope with the seal of Yue's crest on the front. It's here. Ah. Izuku jolted out of bed and was in front of his mother in an instant. He carefully grabbed the letter from her and stared at it disbelievingly. It's here. His mom slowly stood up and pushed Izuku's hands towards his body. Go on, honey. Open it. I'll give you some privacy, but tell me all about it afterwards, okay? I just know you got in. Trust your mother's instincts. Inko gave her son the brightest smile she could remember having on her face since her wonderful Izuku was brought into the world and she got to hold him for the first time. Mom. Sniff, I'm so proud of you, sweetie. Inko gently kissed Izuku on the forehead and quickly wiped away her steadily flowing tears. Now hurry up and open it. Izuku nodded vigorously and sat down at his desk as his mother left the room to give him some privacy. Phew. Okay, this is it, gently now. Pausing for a second, Izuku stared at the envelope before ripping it open as fast as he could. Some sort of silver disc clanked onto the table, causing Izuku to squint in confusion. What the hell is this? He pressed the button in the center of the disc and recoiled backwards when a beam of light shot upwards from it and began shining onto his wall. I am here, coming to you as a projection. Jesus Christ. Izuku exclaimed, clutching his heart. Fucking All Might. Wait, isn't this from Yue? Why is he on the projection? I know it's been quite some time, but you know a pro hero's schedule can get swamped in the blink of an eye, and with great power comes with an even greater amount of paperwork. Sorry, the truth is, I didn't come to this town just to fight villains. I also got hired as the newest UA faculty member. Whoa, you're seriously going to be a teacher at UA? A hand popped out of the corner of the screen and began making a hurry up motion. Yes, what's the problem? I'm spending too much time showboating? Okay, sorry, I'll wrap it up, but I have to. Wait, I have to do how many of these videos? Wasting time and money for the broadcasting department by even having this conversation right now? Okay, sorry, I'll be quick. Izuku rolled his eyes and impatiently drummed on his desk with his fingers. This is the #1 hero in the world. So, moving on. All Might cleared his throat. I must say, young Midoriya, your scores on the entrance exam surprised even me. You passed the written exam with a score of 96%. And the practical portion, holy my boy, did you show who's boss. You scored 46 villain points, good for 6th place. Izuku wasn't sure how he felt about that. I'm glad I passed, but 6th place? Come on. All Might believed in me. Mom, Kakin, everyone. 60th place is dog shit for what I know I can do. Not even top 5. Now 6th place is where you would be if that were the only parameter around this examination. The green-haired teen's head shot up. What you talking about, All Might? Everyone knows that the true meaning to being a hero is not defeating villains, but doing our best to help those in need, to save people at all costs. That's why. We have rescue points as well. All Might clicked a button on his remote to show a profile screen of Izuku, listing his candidate information and test results. For your bravery and noble actions in the exam, you Midoriya Izuku were awarded 60 rescue points? That's right. 60 rescue points brings your total score up to 106 points. Good enough for a comfortable 2nd place, my boy. Izuku's face lit up with pride. I got over 100 points. I got a top 3 score at the best hero school in the country. I wonder if Kakin got 1st place. You've made me proud as a mentor, my boy. Your score ranks in the top 10 of all-time UA exam scores. Enjoy this accomplishment, but remember that it only grows more and more difficult from this point forward. Welcome, Midoriya Izuku, to your Hero Academia. With that, the projection faded, leaving Izuku alone in the room, the only light source being the small lamp he had on just barely illuminating the face-splitting grin he had on his face. He made eye contact with the All Might poster taped above his desk and made a face of inspired determination. I won't let you down, All Might. Izuku picked up the torn envelope and saw that a letter had come with the projection disc and unfolded the paper to read it. Dear Midoriya, Izuku. Hello. I write this letter to you to inform you of your excellent performance in this year's UA entrance exam. You put on an impressive display and accumulated 46 villain points and 60 rescue points. Your score ranked you in at second place of all examinees this year, so you should be very proud of yourself. Izuku skimmed through most of the rest of the letter outlining school conduct and all of that boring stuff until he got to the next most important piece of information to him. As you may or may not already be aware, UA has an on-campus dormitory system, and all incoming students are expected to be moved in no later than 1 week before the day of orientation. Any required assistance for moving your personal items from your home to the dormitories will be happily provided by the school as long as the request is made at a reasonable time. The rooms provided are accompanied by the following amenities: 2 single beds, a full bathroom, 2 computers with desks, bookshelves, a small kitchen, a balcony. Each room is assigned 2 students of the same gender chosen at random. Your room assignment is as follows. Dorm 1A, room 3-1. Midoriya, Izuku. Todoroki Shoto. Do not hesitate to contact the school faculty if there are any concerns or questions you have regarding the move-in or anything else leading up to the beginning of the school year. I am looking forward to seeing you at the orientation. Sincerely, Principal Nizu. Todoroki Shoto. Why did that name ring such a bell? Izuku quickly slid across the room in his swivel chair and spun towards his hero drawers. Combing through his stacks of notes, he eureka'd when he found his 3rd volume, flipping through the pages until it landed on his hero analysis of the number 2 hero, Endeavor. Flame Hero, Endeavor. Legal name, Todoroki Enji. Yada yada. Father of 4.
I wonder.
What the fuck? You're bunking with Endeavor's kid. Izuku and his little group of friends sat around his dinner table, knee-deep in a discussion about their exam results and what was to come once Hero School finally started. Katsuki snatched Izuku's acceptance letter from his hands and scanned through it to confirm his friend's claim. I saw him on the news with his kids one time. The one that looked closest to our age has some weird fucking half-in, half-hair or some shit, I think. Ow. Katsuki rubbed his arm where Kendo had just pinched him. What's your fucking problem? Stop insulting people behind their backs, she scolded. Anyways, great job on getting 1st and 2nd on the exam. You too. Ignoring the pair's bickering, Izuku rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Endeavor's son. Huh. I wonder what he's like. Yeah, you both got such high scores, Ochako added, resting her chin on the table with a pout. Even with my 45 rescue points, I still only managed to get 73. Kendo patted Ochako's head. Don't be like that, Uraraka. You still did really well. You got higher than I did, so if you feel bad, how am I supposed to feel, huh? I only got 1 point more than you. Dekakuin got like 30 more. But Kugokuin got even higher than that. Exam scores don't mean shit now, roundface. Once school comes around, I'm gonna show everyone that I'm the best. You fucks included. Easy for you to say. You got 120 points, Kakin, Izuku chuckled. Oh, by the way, who did you guys end up getting roomed with? Izuku was interrupted by his phone vibrating on the table notifying that he was receiving a call. Much to his misfortune, the caller ID and photo appeared on the screen as well. Before he could even realize it, Ochako had snatched the phone from off of the table. Well, what do we have here? Dekakuin, who is Tatami and why is her caller ID photo a selfie of you two cheek to cheek? Izuku yelped and tried to reach for his phone, but found himself trapped in a large pair of hands. What the? Sorry, Midoriya. This has officially become an interrogation. Uraraka, answer the phone and put it on speaker. Izuku frantically tried to squirm out of Kendo's enlarged hands and get his phone back. Kendo-san, Uraraka-san, please. It's not what you think. Kakin, help. Izuku turned to his oldest friend in search of aid out of his embarrassing situation, only to see Katsuki getting up and walking away. Later, comical tears sprung from Izuku's eyes. Judas, he hissed. Still squirming, he shrieked when Ochako placed the phone on the table and hit the answer button. Hello?
Either death.
I heard from a friend of mine that the UA entrance exam results came out yesterday. How come you didn't call me as soon as you got it, huh?
I'm sorry.
I was a little overwhelmed by all of it yesterday, and I got the letter late in the evening, so I went to sleep not long after I got my results. Izuku replied, trying his best to ignore Ochako and Itsuka's giggling fits. You couldn't have at least sent me a text or something? Izuku had to stifle a laugh because he could hear the pout Tatami had on her face. Well, I guess there's nothing you can do about it now. Tell me how you did. I came in second place with 106 points. Apparently my score was also good enough to be ranked top 10 of all-time UA exam candidates, too. Tatami squealed in delight, clapping her hands excitedly. Oh, Izuku, I'm so proud. I knew you would do great. Izuku blushed at the praise, doing his best to avoid the teasing looks that Ochako and Kendo were giving him. Oh man, I have to go. I'm not sure when the next time I could be in town to see you again, but I'll let you know as soon as I find out. Oh, okay. Come on, Izuku. What do we say about confidence and passion? You want to see me, don't you? Ochako had to cover her mouth with her hands to mute her laughter, and since its sukas were occupied, she resorted to biting down on her ponytail. Yes, I do. That's more like it. Tatami giggled. Oh, and I hope you know you're going to get a great big reward for doing so well on your exam the next time we see each other. Bye-bye. Bye. The line cut, and the room was immediately filled with relentless giggling. Itsuku let go of Izuku and had to lean on Ochako from her fits. You guys are so cute. Ochako exclaimed. Tell us everything. Where'd you meet? How long have you been dating? Have you kissed? Do you have more photos? Can we meet her too? Where does she live? Is she in the hero course too? Ochako was stopped by Itsuka's hands coming over to cover her mouth. Whoa there, let's take it easy. We don't want to overload the poor guy's brain. Izuku sighed in relief. Thanks, Kendo-san. Oh, you still are going to answer all of our questions, Midoriya. And if you try to run, well, our quirks are pretty well suited for keeping you from doing that. Wouldn't you agree, Uraraka? Ochako matched Itsuka's evil grin with one of her own, wiggling her fingers out at Izuku. Don't make it harder than it has to be, Deku-kun. Katsuki returned to the room, wiping his still damp hands on his pants as he came back from the washroom, to see Izuku scampering around the room as a mouse being chased by Itsuka and Ochako. Get back here, Midoriya. Tell us all of it.
Spill det til, Deku-kun.
Katsuki saw Izuku scurry over to his feet and crawled up his pant leg to hide. Looking up, all Katsuki could see was the two girls lunging his direction. There! Was heard throughout the room, followed by a resounding thud. Where did he go? Ochako said, frantically looking around. Damn, he got away. Hey, are you making popcorn? Ochako tilted her head to the side. No. Why? Well, don't you hear that popping noise? They both looked down and realized they were sitting on top of Katsuki, who had a look of pure anger on his face. Ah, that's the popping noise. Run. Izuku stretched his arms high in the air, sighing as his spine decompressed from sitting in the car for so long. He and Inko had just driven from their home to UA's campus for Izuku's move into Heights Alliance, the hero school's on-campus dormitory buildings. His mother walked up to his side, followed by Nozomi, who jumped around excitedly at the new environment. These dorm buildings are bigger than our entire apartment complex. Inko yelled as she gawked up at the row of dormitories lined up before them. You're gonna be okay all on your own, right, Izuku? Izuku wrapped a comforting arm around his mother's shoulder. I'll be fine, promise. Still slightly worried, as any mother sending her child off to boarding school should, Inko looked up at her son with a nervous expression. You have all the recipes I gave you? Color-coded and neatly filed in binders. Laundry? Wash on cold to make sure nothing shrinks, and wash darks first because I have more of those than lights. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to let you go, Izuku. Inko buried her face in her son's shoulder, pouting sadly. Izuku turned his body so that he could properly embrace his wonderful mother. I know. I'm gonna miss you too, Mom. Make sure you call me every day to tell me all about everything you do, okay? And you. Inko pulled away from Izuku and bent down to scratch Nozomi under the chin. Make sure this little mister doesn't get into too much trouble, okay, girl? Nozomi barked in reply, causing Inko to smile. She stood back up and held her Izuku by the shoulders. I tell you this all the time, but I'm so proud of you, Izuku. I love you so much, baby. Be good, okay? Izuku smiled brightly and pulled his mom into a tight hug. I will. I love you too, Mom. Thank you for always believing in me. The two shared one more smile before Inko got back in her car and drove off, leaving Izuku and his trusty canine companion alone to go about their business. Adjusting the strap on his backpack, Izuku pulled the information sheet out of his pocket and read it over. Let's see. Everything got packed in our rooms for us, so all I need to do right now is go to the first-year student center to get my key. Easy enough. Let's go. The pair were about to set off before Izuku heard a loud, Deku, being yelled out. Turning around, he saw Katsuki walking up towards him, backpack slung over his shoulder with one hand with the other dug into his pocket. About time you showed up, nerd. What took so long? Katsuki said as he bent down to pet Nozomi, an action that brought great joy to her. Not everyone is as excited to move out as you know? The old bat and geezer would have kept me there all damn day if I didn't yell at them to hurry the hell up and take me here. Anyway, you got your key and shit yet? Let's go. Nodding in agreement, Izuku and Nozomi followed Katsuki down the road towards the FYSC to pick up their room keys and orientation package. The pair of boys and dog had just reached the first-year student center and were about to go inside when the loud roar of a motor ripped through the air in the direction of the parking lot beside the building. Curious as to what was causing the commotion, the trio walked over to the lot to see a dark red sport bike rolling to a stop. Katsuki couldn't peel his eyes away from the sight of the obviously female driver park her bike, curves on full display in the skin-tight motorcycle bodysuit she was wearing. He watched her every move as she cut her engine and put her kickstand down, swinging one of her long legs over the side of the bike, standing up and slowly pulling her jet black helmet off, revealing locks of orange hair tied in a ponytail on the side of her head. Katsuki's eyes almost bugged out of his head when he saw Kendo turn in their direction and wave. Did I just? Kendo tucked her helmet under her arm and walked up to them, smiling the whole way. Hey guys. Unaware of his best friend's state of shock, Izuku greeted Kendo with a wave. Hey, Kendo-san. Nice motorcycle. Very cool looking. Oh, that old thing? Kendo chuckled. It was a gift from my parents for getting into UA. It rides like a damn dream. Don't worry though, I got a special permit so I can only drive it on campus. You want to go for a ride? Izuku waved his hands in front of his face. Nope. No way I'm getting on that thing. Suit yourself. Bakugo? Huh. Snapping out of his trance, Katsuki met eyes with Itsuka, causing him to blush and turn away. Shut up. I wasn't looking at shit. Oh, okay. Are you all right, Kaken? You look kind of frazzled. Katsuki crossed his arms and whipped around so he wasn't facing the two of his friends. Screw you. Let's go get our fucking keys already, he shouted, before stomping up the stairs and into the building. What was that all about? I know he gets mad all the time, but I don't get what the problem was. Your guess is as good as mine, Kendo-san. Izuku and Itsuka shared a look of confusion before shrugging and following after their spiky-haired companion. There you guys are. As soon as the trio of teens walked through the door of the building, they caught sight of a brown-haired blur plow into Izuku and pull all of them into a quick hug. Oh hey, Uraraka-san. Did you get here long ago? Yeah, I wanted to wait for you guys though. We can all get our room and homeroom assignments together. Ochako's boundless enthusiasm was infectious and brought smiles to both Kendo and Izuku. Ochako turned and held her arms out. Nozomi, said Dog leaped into her arms, knocking her onto her bottom. I'm happy to see you too. Ochako managed to squeak out between ticklish giggles at being licked all over her face. Still upset with himself for his faltering earlier, Katsuki found himself with a shorter temper than usual. Can we hurry the hell up? I want to get to my room and take a fucking nap. Party pooper. Ochako pouted as she got to her feet. Walking up to the service desk, the quartet of students gave their information and received their respective room assignments. What room are you in, Kaken? Izuku asked, leaning over to see his friend's information sheet. 1A, room 4-1. I'm right above you, nerd. Heh, like always. My roommate is some guy named Ojiro. Katsuki shrugged. Uraraka-san? 1A, room 3-2. Hooray. We're all in the same class. Oh man, but Itsuka-chan isn't my roommate. Mine is someone named Yairozu Momo. I hope she's nice. The three turned to Kendo to find out what room she was in, but were surprised to see her frowning down at her sheet. Itsuka-chan? I'm in room 3-4. Then we're neighbors. In dorm 1B. Izuku and Ochako looked on in concern. Oh man, this sucks. Yeah, I was hoping that all four of us would be in the same class, Kendo-san. It won't be the same without you. Itsuka's hands fell limp at her side. Yeah? Tisage. Katsuki stomped up to Itsuka and brushed past her shoulder. If you're gonna cry about something as dumb as being in a different class, then you got no place being in the fucking hero course, fat hands. Kaken. You know I'm right, you fucking nerd. You think someone who mopes around for something like this is gonna be of any use out there in the real fucking world when villains are trying to kill you? And you. Katsuki shouted, turning to Itsuka once more. You really gonna let a different fucking homeroom slow you down? What happened to the chick from the entrance exam that was smashing the shit out of robots? You look fucking pathetic. I'm outta here. Katsuki stormed out of the building, leaving several stunned faces watching him leave. Geez, who pooped in his cereal? What did he have to be so mean about it for? Izuku came up and put a hand on Itsuka's shoulder. I'm sorry about him, Kendo-san. I'll go talk to him once he cools off a bit. Itsuka's fists were clenched at her side. He's right, though. Isn't he? How can I call myself a potential hero if I get sad over something like this? I'm really being dumb about it, aren't I? It's not like we're never gonna see each other. We can always hang out after class and stuff. This is nothing. You do have a point there, Kendo-san. Relatively speaking, it really isn't that big of a deal. Sure, it would be nice for all of us to have class together, but like you said, we will surely still be able to see each other on a regular basis. I'm sure it'll be just fine. Anyways, we should go to our rooms and get set up. Uraraka-san? Yeah, let's go to our dorm. See you later, Itsuka-chan. With that, Izuku, Ochako, and Nozomi left towards the 1A dorm, leaving Itsuka alone in the lobby. I never would have thought Bakugo cared so much. He definitely needs to work on his phrasing and delivery, but it's nice to know under all that psychotic rage, he at least tried to make me feel better. Now, Izuku and Ochako were well aware just how much of a prestigious institution UA was, but they were in no way expecting their dorm building to look so incredible. The pair stepped into the entryway and were immediately amazed. Whoa, it's so big and fancy. Ochako shouted. Izuku was in an equal state of shock. This is crazy. If this is just the common area, I can't even imagine what our bedrooms are gonna look like. Hey you two, come on in. Izuku and Ochako turned to see a pink-skinned girl bound up to them with a bright smile on her face. Her bright yellow irises shone against the blackness of her sclera, and two pale yellow horns sticking out of her unruly mess of pink hair helped to complete her unique appearance. Hi there. I'm Ishido, Mina. Are you guys going to be in class 1A too? Izuku was practically blinded by how wide the girl was smiling, and felt a similar sensation with Ochako in that her bubbly personality was almost overwhelming. It's nice to meet you, Ishido-san. I'm Midoriya Izuku, and this is Uraraka Ochako. Said girl waved with an eye-closed smile. Hello. Woof. Oh, I'm sorry, Izuku said, stepping aside to let his dog through. This is Nozomi. Ah, doggo. Mina cooed, instantly crouching down and nuzzling her face against Nozomi's. She wagged her tail happily and ran in circles around the pink-skinned girl, rubbing her side up against her as she went. Hee hee, anyways, come meet some more of our classmates. Following Mina, Izuku and Ochako entered the dorm common area, where several other students sitting in small groups chatting amongst themselves. Come meet the gang. Mina led them up to a pair of boys, the first with bright yellow hair and a black lightning bolt-shaped streak running across one side of it. The second also blonde with a noticeably large tail coming out of his behind. This is Kaminari and Ojiro. Guys, meet Midoriya and Uraraka. Hey, how's it going? Denki said, finger pistoling the pair. Ojiro-kun, you wouldn't happen to be in room 4-1, would you? He raised an eyebrow. How did you know that? Ah, so you're Kaken's roommate. It's nice to meet you. He said with a nod. You too, Kaminari-kun. Yeah, nice to meet ya. Ochako added. So have you met have you met Bakugo yet? Ojiro chuckled nervously. Hee. Yeah, he's something alright. He's an acquired taste, for sure. But believe me when I say he actually cares in his own way, and he wants to be a hero as bad as anybody else. Ochako nodded in agreement. Plus, seeing him yell at everything is really funny. Uraraka-chan, over here. Mina beckoned, sitting next to a group of girls. Ochako looked to Izuku, who gave her a nod to shoo her towards their new female classmates, before skipping off towards them. Here, sit down, man. Pulling up a chair next to them, Izuku gladly accepted the invitation. So, Denki began, giving Izuku a sly grin. Uraraka is really cute. Is she your girlfriend? You two seem really close. Oh, no. Izuku replied, we're really close friends. But that's it. We met on the day of the entrance exam, actually. Izuku's face unconsciously lit up with pride. We took down the 0-pointer at our site together. You took down a 0-pointer? The trio turned to see a boy with spiky red hair come up to them and sit down. That's so manly, dude. Oh, Kirishima, by the way. Nice to meet you guys. You really took down a 0-pointer, Midoriya? You must be really strong. Ojiro commented. Izuku blushed slightly at the praise and attention he was getting. Hee hee. I'm sure anyone could have done it. And then Deku was like, smash. Pow. Boom. And punched the giant robot right in the face. The boys turned to hear Ochako animatedly recounted the story from the entrance exam, causing her group of girls to peer over at Izuku in curiosity. He really did that? One girl with short purple hair and long flesh-colored earphone jacks hanging from her earlobes said. That's pretty impressive, Karo. Another girl with dark green hair and wide eyes added, putting a large index finger on her chin. Izuku felt a firm clap on his back. Look at you, dude. Already the hot topic in our class. Excuse me, can you elucidate a bit more about this 0-pointer? The group turned to the tall and slender girl with her onyx hair tied back in a spiky ponytail. You didn't see it? I thought there was one in every battle site? Ojiro asked. The boys all nodded, agreeing in their confusion. Oh, Yairose-chan was accepted through recommendation, so she took a special exam for those students, Karo. All the boys had amazed looks on their faces, causing Momo to blush nervously. Whoa, you must be amazing then, Kaminari exclaimed. Yeah, to be chosen for a school like UA through recommendation must mean you gotta be the best of the best. Ojiro nodded in agreement. Thank you for all your kind words, but that's quite an exaggeration. Momo was then startled by Mina, who had jumped on her back and flung her arms over her shoulders. Come on, don't be so modest. You're a recommended student. That automatically makes you badass. Not to mention your quirk sounds incredible. At the mention of the word quirk, Izuku's eyes took on an unmistakable twinkle, and before anyone could react, he was standing right before Momo, notebook in hand and an expectant look on his face. Would you mind telling me about your quirk, Yairose-san? Everyone in the room sweat dropped, and Jiro leaned over to Uraraka. Is he always like this? Chuckling sheepishly, Ochako nodded. When it comes to learning about quirks and hero stuff like that, Deku is like a kid in a candy store. Still with a raised eyebrow, Jiro watched Izuku scribbling away madly while several of their new classmates went in depth about the nature of their quirks. But where was he keeping that notebook? His backpack is in the other room. Ochako stared at her green-haired pal with narrowed eyes. I still haven't figured that out. Izuku's cheeks hurt from smiling so much. He had filled his notes to the brim with information and analysis on many of his new classmates, and he had almost immediately gotten along with all of them. So 15 profiles and eliminating Kaken, Uraraka, and I from the equation. There are 2 more people I haven't met yet, one of them being Todoroki Shoto. Maybe he will be here tomorrow. Turning the corner, Izuku fished his key out of his pocket and quickly unlocked the door, swinging it open so that Nozomi could run inside. Izuku followed after her and was immediately floored by how luxurious his room was. Whoa, it's like a hotel room. The room had 2 single beds separated by a retractable partition across from 2 connected desks with high-end computers on top of them. Directly to the left of the desk, closest to the door, was a small kitchenette fitted with a sink and several burners on top of a mini-fridge and cabinet. To the right of the nearest bed was a door that presumably led to the bathroom. Oh, I guess he's already here, Izuku said to himself, noticing the bag and personal items already on the bed by the screen door leading to the balcony. Izuku placed his things down on his own bed and started unpacking. He opened his closet and begun unloading the boxes that UA had delivered for him. Just as he had finished unpacking his things, he heard the door open and turned to see a boy with a large burn mark on the left side of his face, partly covered by his ear-length half-white/half-red hair. Oh, you must be Todoroki-kun. I'm Midoriya Izuku. Nice to meet you, Izuku said, extending out a friendly hand. Shoto stared at him for a few moments, before slowly returning the shake, keeping the same monotone expression he wore from the moment he walked in the room. I completely forgot. This is my dog Nozomi. I hope you don't mind dogs. It makes no difference to me, Shoto coldly replied, walking over to his own bed and going through his things. All right. Well, since we are going to be roommates, I hope we can get along and become friends. Not interested. What do you mean? I'm not here to make friends. You or anyone else are wasting your time if that is your goal, Shoto replied, not even looking up from what he was doing. I'm here to be the best and nothing else, so save your breath. Okay, whatever, man. Izuku collected his toiletries and went into the washroom to clean himself up for the night. Splashing some water in his face, Izuku stared thoughtfully into his reflection. What an asshole. Well, I guess there's no use worrying over it. There's more important things to think about. Izuku nodded resolutely to himself. Tomorrow is where the real journey begins. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. I'm coming. Hurriedly running to the door, Izuku opened it to reveal Katsuki and Ochako standing there, the former with an annoyed scowl and the latter with a bright smile.
Morning, Deku-kun.
Ochako waved. We thought it would be nice to wait for you, so we could go to class together. Grumpy McMeany over here didn't want to wait, but he came anyway when I said I was going to wait for you. She laughed. Screw you, roundface. Bakugo yelled, Deku, are you an idiot? The fuck is wrong with your tie? Bakugo yanked on the stubby piece of fabric tied, causing Izuku to stumble forward. Listen, it's hard to tie a tie, okay? And why are you talking? You aren't even wearing a tie. All 3 of them looked to Katsuki's loose color and evident lack of tie, causing the ash blonde to kiss his teeth and spin around. Fuck you, just hurry up and come downstairs. I'm not going to be late on the first day because of your dumb ass. Here, Ochako said. nimbly untying Izuku's monstrosity and readying it so that it looked properly. She straightened his collar and brushed his jacket down straight. There we go. So what do you think is gonna happen at orientation today? Izuku tapped his chin thoughtfully. I'm not sure. If it's anything like regular orientations, the principal will give a long speech about the school and stuff. Then we will meet upperclassmen who take us on tours and things like that. But this is UA. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to expect. Good point. Welp, only one way to find out. Now let's hurry and catch up to Bakugo-kun. Izuku grabbed his bag off of his bed and dashed out the door after his friends. Bye, Nozomi. Wait, Uraraka-san. I need breakfast. Breakfast. Okay, 1A, aha. Here it is. Izuku and Ochako finally came upon their homeroom classroom, staring up at the enormous red door. Whoa, it's huge. It must be to accommodate students who are larger because of their quirks. Well anyway, are you ready to go in, Uraraka-san? Scrunching up her face in determination, Ochako nodded. Let's do it. Okay, here we go. Izuku grabbed the handle and slowly slid the door to the classroom open. You better get the fuck out of my face, Four Eyes. I find your vulgar language to be incredibly deplorable. Not to mention your hooliganish behavior of putting your feet up onto your desk is extremely disrespectful to the honor of our upperclassmen who have been here before us. Izuku and Ochako had walked into quite the scene, seeing Katsuki and the tall blue-haired boy from the exam right in each other's faces having a screaming match, while several other students were in their seats watching uncomfortably/disapprovingly. Whoa, take it easy. Izuku instantly got between the two and got Katsuki to take a few steps back. What the hell's going on here? This fuck is getting on my goddamn nerves. You're the one from the entrance exam who defeated the zero-pointer. My name is Ida Tinya, from Some Academy. No wonder you're such a douchebag, you damn elite. Ignoring Katsuki's outburst, Ida pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose. Midoriya Izuku, correct? You clearly saw the true purpose of the exam and earned your high ranking. You are a much better student than I, he said, bowing a perfect 90 degrees. The entire class sweat dropped. Okay, Izuku said, mostly confused by what was happening. Furthermore, I must apologize to you for my words on that day as well. I clearly overstepped and jumped to a conclusion when I said that you two were unfocused and unfit for this program. I hope that you will be able to forgive me. And to him, despite some eccentricities that I do not entirely agree with, I can easily see the skill set you both possess. Giving it a second of thought, Izuku smiled at Ida. You know what? Apology accepted. How can I call myself a hero in training if I can't let go of petty grudges and let bygones be bygones? Right, Kakin? Izuku gave Katsuki a look, causing him to scoff. Whatever. Great. Izuku turned to the rest of his classmates, who were all looking at him after such a display. Sorry about the disruption. If you're done with your little show, we can get started. Everyone turned to the door to see a scruffy male face poking out of some sort of yellow sleeping bag. Oh, what the hell is that? It's talking. A zipper went down, allowing the man to step out of his bag, revealing a ragged black outfit paired with a dark gray scarf around his neck. You kids really need to get some more sense before you can think of calling yourselves worthy of being UA students. His intimidating gaze somehow shone through his tired-looking eyes as he scanned the room. Time is precious. Rational students would understand that and be in their seats and ready before I even showed up here. Well, in any case, welcome to UA. I am Aizawa Shota, your homeroom teacher. Homeroom teacher? Was the collective thought among the class. Aizawa reached into his sleeping bag and pulled out a blue, white, and red tracksuit. Well, let's get right to it. Put these on and head outside. But first, reaching into his sleeping bag again, he pulled out sort of pouch and sucked out the contents in one fell swoop. The entire class sat in awkward silence as Aizawa smacked his lips repeatedly after finishing whatever drink he had just ingested. All right, let's go. The entirety of Class 1A patiently stood out in the field behind the main school building in their UA gym uniforms, anxiously waiting to see what their homeroom teacher had in store for them. Okay, now that we are all here and changed, we can get started. For today, what is going to happen is I am going to put all 20 of you through a quirk assessment test. A quirk assessment test? Everyone shouted. But wait, what about orientation, sensei? Ochako asked. One of the perks of being a teacher at UA is that I have free reign as to how my class is conducted. If you're going to be at the top hero school in the country, you don't have time for frivolous things like orientation ceremonies. You've been taking standardized tests for the majority of your lives, but I see no rationality behind ignoring the cultivation and testing of quirks in the superhuman society that we live in. He turned to Katsuki. Bakugo, you got the highest score on the entrance exam, so we'll use you as a demonstration. He pulled out a rubber ball and handed it to the teen. Take this and stand in the circle over there. Obliging, Katsuki took the ball from Aizawa and stood in the circle to await further instruction. How far could you throw in middle school? Like 75 meters? Nodding to himself, Aizawa pulled a phone out of his pocket. Okay, throw the ball using whatever means you wish, as long as don't leave the circle. That includes use of your quirk. Whenever you're ready. Katsuki immediately smiled ferociously and stared at the ball in his hand. Winding up, he flung the ball forward as hard as he could, letting off an explosion from his palm just before the ball left his hands. Eat shit. Rubber fuck? The ball rocketed out of Katsuki's hand, leaving rings of smoke in the air as the trail of heat behind it propelled it forward. It disappeared into the distance, the only signal of it landing being the ping that sounded off on Aizawa's phone. Everyone need to know the upper threshold of their capabilities. He turned his phone screen towards the class, revealing Katsuki's score to be 841.7 meters. It's the most reasonable way to see where you stand in becoming pro heroes. Whoa, are you kidding me? 841 meters. Kaminari said, utterly shocked. Hee, shocked. This looks like it'll be so much fun. Mina exclaimed, bouncing from side to side excitedly. Fun, eh? Everyone turned to Aizawa, who had a dark expression on his face. So you're here to have fun and slack off, huh? Today, you're competing in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last place will be deemed hopeless and kicked out of UA for good. Got it? The looks of shock and horror among the class brought a sadistic grin to Aizawa's face. I already told you that I can run my class however I want. So if you don't want to be expelled, well then don't come in last. The words of challenge brought varying reactions from the students. Well then, let's get started. That's it for today's adventure, my Titans of Time. If you enjoyed exploring Deku's Beast Mode with me, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. And remember, this is just the beginning. Part 2 is on the way. Thanks for all your continuous support. You guys are the real heroes. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, stay legendary. Chronos out. Victory hand.